Welcome to the Late Night with Chalky podcast.
Here we go. Friends and family, brothers and sisters, welcome to the Late Night with Chalky podcast.
Our guest this week, pro surfer from Kauai, who offers surf coaching and lessons with over a decade of experience under his belt. From beginners to rippers, from Hanalei to Malibu to Waco to the surf ranch, he's a professional both in and out of the water. With his deep roots in surf and his relationships he's made throughout life, he created a brand that reflects his passion for surfing. We welcome the pro surf coach for the rich and famous and owner of Blak Bear Surf Club, Mr. Teva, Blak Bear, Dexter. Woo!
Welcome.
So I only know a little tidbits because we spoke on the phone a couple times, and I was fascinated that you're able to just make a killer living and doing what you love.
Yeah, it's a trip. Like, we'll get into it, how small and close-knit this community is, because we've run each other through different people, and then finally here it is culminating into this.
Yeah.
Well, I always joke around with people, it's like the world's small, but the surf world's smaller. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of like a funny thing too. Is like the surf world is like people will name the area and oh, you ever been to freaking Bali? And then like you're like, oh yeah, like Ty Bluta and Kala Jones and freaking Rizal, and then you think of all these people connected, and then you think of all the people that are connected to them, and then they're connected back to you.
Yeah.
So it's like if I not, and then the other thing too is like even meeting you guys right now, it's like I might not have met you guys before, but we definitely like subscribe to the same tribe.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And that's been like a really trippy one for me, is like right now I'm living full time here in LA, and like we'll get to how I got there, but like I just drove here from Hollywood and I came down here to have lunch at Ipono just now. With, I got some Tigrons that are visiting. Yeah, I never tried it before, but I'm trying to get him to cater for my daughter's first luau, and I was like, fuck, I gotta get some Hawaiian food. Like I gotta get some. So I came down and talked to the chef, and he's like, yeah, no worries, we'll make it happen. So, but it's just funny. It's like I leave Hollywood and it's like I'm a fish out of water, you know what I mean? Like I pretty much suck at everything in LA. As far as like, people are like, oh, you ever been to that restaurant? I'm like, no. And they're like, you ever been to that club? I'm like, no. And I got no connections to get into those places. Like it's like going to like freaking Hanalei and I don't know where to paddle out. I don't know where to park. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not your guy to ask. And then like my chick always jokes around to me because like if my phone dies in my car, I don't know how to get home. Like if Siri's not there to tell me Google Maps, I'm like, fuck.
You're up with one little road.
Exactly. I'm like one road
one little
around
horseshoe.
driving, and you know what I mean. Every left turns towards the beach, so I'm like tripping being in Hollywood. But
let's go where it all started from.
Yeah. So
You grew up in.
Yeah, my name's Teva Dexter, and I was actually born here in LA. Both my parents are Tahitian. My dad was from Raiatea, which is on the outer islands of Tahiti, and then my mother is she was from Tahiti, but she grew up here in Venice, California. So have you ever been to Venice to the Hinano bar? But the reason it's called the Hinano bar is because my grandfather, who was he was an American from Venice, he sailed to Tahiti. And he worked for MGM Grand, kind of doing set paintings, and he was like late night partying. And someone said, "Oh, we're gonna go to Tahiti and we're gonna film this Marlon Brando movie, but we're not gonna bring anybody because we don't want to pay union wages and all this shit, whatever." And my grandpa's kind of like the piratey dude. He's like, "Fuck that, we're sailing there." So he sailed to Tahiti, and when MGM showed up, he was already there setting up to film because he knew what Hollywood needed to do this movie. And they were like, fucking Gordon, he beat us, you know? So anyways, my grandpa did this whole thing, and then my grandma, Gordon Zimmerman was actually his name. Dexter's my father's name.
Okay.
But anyways, the long story short is that Hinano is the name of the beer that's from Tahiti that all of us have gone there and drank or whatever. And Hinano had just started. This is like in the 50s. And my grandmother, her father was working at Hinano, and he convinced them like, hey, I'm gonna film this movie and I'm gonna have a little bit of money and fuck, I want to try to like get the license to sell Hinano in America.
You're kidding me.
This is like pre, like now things are just like bottled in different areas, right? But he's like, fuck, I'm gonna sail Hinano back from Tahiti.
I'm gonna load my boat up
and fuck, it's on, you know. And then obviously he got here and was like, it wasn't on, but they started that bar, and that's why it's named the Hinano Bar. Him and this guy, Joe Larson's probably like your distant relative or something.
Yeah. That is radical.
So there's a Hanano bar.
There's a Hinano Bar even to this day. It's like known for like the best burger in Venice or something, but it's right there at the Venice Pier.
Wow.
Off of Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone knows where it is.
Dude, I'm gonna go there.
But they owned it just like in the first couple of years, and then it turned into like a heavy biker bar, I think, and then who knows, it's changed hands or whatever. But
Venice has gone through so many changes over the decades, man.
yeah.
Your grandfather started
that bar. Him and this guy Joe Larson. They sailed to Tahiti to film the Mutiny on the Bounty, the movie, and then yeah, they brought back and started the Hinano Bar and whatever, and then out of that relationship, they had 3 kids, and then my mom was one of the 3 kids, she grew up in Venice during like the whole like Dogtown Z-Boy, you know, like that whole era, like Jay Adams, all of that. She's of that class, went to Venice High and all of that, and then
now is she Tahitian too?
she's half Tahitian, half
Okay.
American. Yeah, my grandfather was American. He's a white
Married-
Haole.
Brought a Tahitian lady.
He brought
back
Tahitian
from-
back.
okay.
Yeah, this tiny little Tahitian woman named Maya Vadum. He brought her back, and then they lived in LA or lived in Venice, whatever. And then when my mom was 20, she was just like a radical LA party animal, you know, whatever. It's like it's the 80s and cocaine's pure and shit's good and whatever. And freaking, she got shipped to Tahiti, and then
Your mom did.
Yeah, and then she met my dad, who was 40. She was 20, and then they had me.
Whoa.
And then when they were pregnant with me, though, my grandma was just like, knew how hard it is to be not American. Like, she was like, oh, I really want my grandson to be American. So they flew back here. My mom flew back here, and then they had me here in Venice, and then we went back to Tahiti, and then I lived in Tahiti till I was about like 3 or 4, and then they just didn't work out, domestics, whatever, and my mom was just like, we're fucking out, you know what I mean? Like, I'm moving. So then now it's like single mom, me, whatever. And then we got back to LA, and my mom was just like young, 20 years old with a freaking, 1-year-old son, just like whatever. And then she was working as a esthetician, like doing facials and shit in the salon at the beauty school, whatever. And then the Rodney King riots happened in April of '92.
Oh, wow.
And then she was like, shit, like, we just left paradise. Like, why are we back in the city? Like, I left LA in the first place because of this, whatever. And Venice at that time, too, was like, wasn't really a conducive place to raise a child. You know what I mean? And my grandma, like, was like a very tiny little Tahitian woman, like, didn't, you know what I mean? She was very roots, like, still wore a pareo, like a sarong, and, like, people would always trip out, you know what I mean? Like, if you're a Tahitian and you visited LA in the 80s and 90s, like, you for sure knew who Maya Vadum was. She was, like, one of the first, she's one of the first registered French Polynesians of the state of California. So like, people knew, like, oh, Maya Vadum, like, freaking, that's where you go. And then, whatever, fast forward is like, so that was April of '92 is the Rodney King riots. And August of '92, we finally were like, my mom was like, you know what, I've had enough, we're moving, we're going to Hawaii. And she just had this dream of living in Hawaii, and we had visited Hawaii when I was a kid. And one of her best friends lived on Oahu, so we're like, oh, we're gonna like, live in Oahu, whatever. So I'm like 4 or 5 at this time, and I feel like it's a long drawn out story, but
this is interesting.
Okay, so anyways, like, so basically my mom had 2 brothers that were like kind of gnarly surfer, skater, just like beach rat kind of guys, but they're like kind of respected in Venice or whatever. And freaking, we got to Oahu, and this guy Bill Euron, he was like kind of the Grom of the Dogtown days, whatever.
I've heard of that name. Yeah.
And he basically called my grandma's house and was like, hey, where's Meta and where's Mareta? That was my mom's name. And my grandma's like, oh, they moved to Oahu, and freaking, he somehow tracked us down and called this hotel that we were staying at. And he's like, hey, like, I don't tell anybody this, but like, I live with my wife and my 2 kids, but like, fuck, like your brother, I owe your brother some favors, so like, fuck, if you want to like come here to Kauai, like this is the spot, but just don't tell,
Yeah.
Kauai was kind of the spot, like, don't tell anybody, like, he's in, like, for him too, he's kind of just a Haole guy who's kind of like freaking trying to stay under the radar in Kauai too. He doesn't want to be known as like the guy who's telling people to like come on over, whatever. But he's like, fuck, your kid's Polynesian. He deserves to live in the islands, whatever. So long story short, we moved to Kauai, and like within a week, Hurricane Iniki hits freaking Kauai, and fucking everything we owned was like
devastating,
gone. Yeah.
Wow.
But like I said, I was like single mother on welfare, so we didn't really have like much anyway. So it was like, okay, like freaking here we go. Like my mom was like kind of at the point where she's like, we can't keep running. You know what I mean? We just ran from Tahiti and then we ran from LA. Like
Make it home.
like this is it, yeah. And like and by the grace of God, like somehow my neighbor, or like we got to Kauai, like it happened all on the same day. We hitchhiked from Lahui Airport to Kilauea, got to Kilauea town, which is like pretty much the beginning of the North Shore. So like Andy and Bruce, they're from Hanalei. That's like kind of like the middle of the North Shore, right?
Yeah.
And like me, Dustin, Seabass, like those guys, we're from Kilauea. Like we kind of always took pride in being like from Kilauea, if that makes sense. Like we're all from North Shore, but we're from Kilauea, whatever.
Yeah.
So when I came to Kilauea town, like somehow the first person we called, like in the newspaper, we went to the house and the lady's like, yeah, we'll rent you this house, whatever. And fucking she had 2 boys and a little girl, and the little girl was Bethany, and then Hamilton. Yeah, she was probably like 1.5 or something, and then she had a middle brother named Timmy that's the same age as me, or like maybe a few months older, but who's like the most psycho bodyboarder ever. I don't know if like you ever go to Tahiti and like Bethany's getting bombs, her brother's the kid that's like behind her, like go 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 go. Like he's super well respected. Yeah, he's like great friends with Tade and Alvino and all those like Chopo boys. Like Timmy Hamilton's a gnarly bodyboarder. Even at home, like when we surf big waves, like big Cleo and stuff, he's always kind of the guy that I'd be like, oh, okay, fucking Timmy's out, going, I'm out, you know, whatever. But
Can I cut in a little bit? The story with your grandpa and his friend
I was too long.
sailing. No, I love that's historical. You know.
Yeah,
That's a piece of your family history
that everybody could associate with because of the beer and like
yeah.
could be connected.
Well, I don't know if too is like Marlon Brando when he went to Tahiti, like he owned Te Tiodoa, he had his own private island, right? And then he had like there's like some dark history too, right? Like his daughter was murdered, his son murdered the guy that possibly, you know, there's like a heavy thing. So Marlon Brando was actually like exiled from Tahiti eventually. He was never let back, and then. But in Tahiti, which is funny, is like when you would go out and party, the hottest chicks were always like descendants of Marlon Brando. Does that make sense? And then like just to like
he planted his seed.
Yeah. All over that place.
I mean, that guy was bigger than life.
So I mean, it's like Tom Cruise or something without the Scientology. It was like the cool, you know what I mean? He was like the coolest thing ever, Marlon Brando. Yeah. So.
I mean, way before Apocalypse Now. What was it? What is that? Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah.
But going back to your grandpa, like. Those guys were such men, you know.
Well, the fact that like my grandpa was like partying at something, and some dude's like, "Yeah, fuck that, we're just gonna hire the Australians that already live there." He's like, "When's production start there?" Like in 8 weeks. He's like, "We're gonna go sail. It takes fucking 20 days and they sailed from Marina del Rey." Which is like pretty sick, you know, and you think of like history of just like.
But like even today with all the technology, that'd still be the fucking gnarliest risky.
So
if
you met a guy in a bar tonight, he's like, "Hey, we're gonna sail to Tahiti. Fucking, I got this job. Once we get there, we're gonna get jobs."
I'd be like, "Nah."
I think
you guys have GPS?
Yeah. No, I think my grandpa was just like he was kind of just.
What kind of horsepower does that thing have?
Like it just gives you a reason to go to Tahiti.
Yeah. Well, that's what he was kind of promising. He's like, "Oh, adventure," you know.
So your guys are stoked. You landed in Kauai. Essentially, that gives you that kind of Tahiti, like tropical, like
for sure. No,
life. But you're having that American upbringing.
Do you remember living here at all? At 40
in LA? Yeah. Because we were living in Venice, and just like I remember we were walking the boardwalk, and like had some Crips like steal my skateboard, and my mom like kind of was like, I probably went to school with your sisters, blah blah. Like my mom's like an intense lady. Anybody that knows me, they know like my mom's crazy. Like she doesn't really care, you know, whatever. So anyways, like it kind of got to a point that it was just like, are we really gonna live in this like surf ghetto, like, you know, whatever. So
and it was a surf ghetto.
Yeah.
Before like all the like real Hollywood money kind of started dumping in there, it was like pretty sketchy,
seedy
for sure. But like I said, no, I don't remember. That's why I would always hear stories when people would come to Kauai. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, Venice this, Venice that," and I was like, I think Kilauea is probably better than living there. That sounds like a pretty good spot. But no, I lived there, and we moved in there, and then my very next door neighbor, the very first person I ever seen with a surfboard or even like knew it was up, was Dustin Barca. They lived like directly next to each other. So Dustin's mom, Joey, she was like, kind of like now I feel like it's coming back more, but back in the day it was like like men went to work and men surfed huge waves, and then there was like moms raised the kids, and moms were like surf moms. Like Joey was like one of the first surf moms I knew. Like she had this van and fucking she used to drive all of us around to the
Where
beach.
do you guys want to go? Beach day.
Exactly.
Like,
And I was like, I didn't even know how to swim. I'm like freaking, you know, I'm like, oh, like, so I was
5
like,
years old.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like with Dustin's little brother Nikolai, and like we're like boogie boarding, and those guys are surfing, you know. It's like you gotta remember the generation above me is like you got like Danny Fuller, Roy Powers, Dustin Barca, and then you have Andy, Bruce, Hanalei, Reef. There's just like this heavy pack of heathens that are just like ruling, and I'm like, and like that was kind of like in my head I was like,
I want to be those guys.
well, also just like, oh, wow, surfing's gnarly. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Those
Like,
guys
what-
are gnarly.
Like I saw surfing in TV or something. I was like, that looks inviting. This isn't inviting. These guys
Yeah.
are like nuts, you know? And then if you like showed interest, like you were like, oh, like maybe I'm going to start surfing. Like, get the fuck out of here. Man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what are you guys doing down here, you know? Like, and like, so like my best friend growing up surfing was this kid, Gavin Gillette. And we were kind of like, that's who I like learned how to surf. And we kind of got together and learned spots and like, kind of like, okay, like this is our thing. Like we're gonna be surfers, you know. It was pretty sick.
How old were you when you
I was
like?
probably like 9 or 10,
Okay.
which kind of puts it into perspective now. I feel like sometimes like one of my best friends, this kid Tyler Newton, he like coaches this kid that's like 6, and they like fly to Texas and surf the Waco. I'm like, oh man, me and you were like boogie boarding at 6.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I
No,
mean?
100%.
And like,
People
now
are so spoiled.
we're like yelling at this kid to go fucking land that lean air. You're like, I don't know. Like sometimes like I get all fired up. Like yeah. Like okay, yeah. Like you're calling like places like Timmy Patterson and Mayhem. Like fuck, you guys got 4 6s over there, and then you're like, what the fuck are we
4
doing?
6s.
Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you know how it is. Like
Yeah, my
a
dad-
kid having a board at 5 foot was crazy.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, Ralph, you have a 5'6"? Like that's
Yeah.
nuts. Like,
Thinking about, I probably started like that 9 or 10 where I was on the beach boogie boarding, and my dad's like, cool, I don't have to take him out. You sit on the beach, like, it's like extra work if your kid's super psyched. You're like,
Yeah.
wow, I gotta now do all this
Well, now
work
he
to
can
help him.
now he can surf himself.
well, I think
Yeah.
I think surf lessons wasn't a thing
No,
too. You
no.
know what I mean? Like let's think about like softboards didn't exist.
No.
No.
Like,
You
I
know,
You know
remember-
what's funny?
straight hardboard, and it was tough love. Nobody, even the older generation, whether it's a few years older, they're like, beat it, Grom. Like, there was no encouragement, there was no help.
Yeah.
It's like, get your butt on the inside.
What's crazy though? There's been soft tops back in the day. Like David Nueva had a fucking soft top pro model.
Oh, trippy.
Yeah, I saw the ad and everything, and I was like,
the
wow,
the
they
first
had that
rubber
way
that
back
ever
then.
came out or something.
And then like
River.
not surf lessons, but like surf schools. They've been around for a long time, which is a trip, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
But
they
not
go
to the
commercial.
extent-
It was really just for surf schools. Like, it wasn't like people just had them in the quiver and like, having to go have fun.
That's what I mean. Like now, it's like every dad. Like you better have your soft top.
Yeah.
Kids might want to surf. You might
Yeah.
have to play lifeguard. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it's a part of your quiver. You know.
It's part of your quiver
So
for sure.
so you're 9, and that's when you start getting serious about surfing.
Yeah, we're surfing, and I got really lucky too. I'm not gonna like lies. Like my mom, when we first got to Kauai, she's like 26 at this time, so she's like a young chick, and she's got this kid. And some of my stepdad, this guy that she started dating, he was from Newport. He was like a Haole guy that had moved to Kauai and was a surfer himself, whatever. And then he had 2 boys who kind of like helped shape me to like kind of like, okay, like they were a little older than me. And then my oldest stepbrother or whatever you call him, Kale, he was like best friends with Fuller and Roy guys and stuff. So like I kind of had an easy in, like where like I'd go down the pine trees and I'd get picked on and like we'd get shit on for sure. But then I'd go home and
Yellow. What's up?
What up? Hold on one second.
so are we rolling?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So then like someone my stepbrother, he like even to this day he's like probably my favorite surfer. He's like super smooth, like
Kahea?
his name was Kale
Kale.
McBride. But he like remember that company Fresh Guys back in the day?
Yeah.
He was kind of riding for them but anyways, like we would go home and then he'd be like, wow, you guys are doing it wrong. Like you guys need to watch Magnaplasm. You guys need to be watching Raw Irons. You guys should be fucking listening to this music. Like Wu-Tang's the shit. We're like, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was almost like we'd go down to the beach and he'd pretend that he was like someone else. Like and Bark would be like, no leashes, take your leashes off. Like we fucking hated the guy. We're like, oh fuck this guy. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you know.
But
his
they're
dad,
teaching
like,
you valuable
yeah,
lessons.
he was
and,
like the
how to fit
brother.
in.
He was like the brother we didn't ask for.
Yeah.
Barca and then it was kind of like fuck, if you can't handle me, then how you gonna handle the real world? And we were like, oh fuck, real world sounds nuts. Like, you know, like it was just the trippy, the pine trees, deal was like, it was a real thing, you know? It
Yeah.
was like, okay, fuck. So anyways, my brother Kay was kind of like, he was the one that kind of educated us on surfing, you know what I mean? Like
And
nowadays,
style and
yeah, just
music
everything.
and
Kind
culture.
of like these are the boards you guys should be riding, and this is the music, and like you guys want to get chicks, this is, you know. And then we'd go to parties too, and it was, I don't know, just whatever. It was a little bit of a cheat code for me, you know.
Yeah.
And I soaked it up, you know, because I was like, okay, like so. Anyways, Kauai, that whole thing, and then like
So let me,
Yeah.
like what you just described is so crazy because, you know, all these people around the world, right? In different parts of the world.
are experiencing that.
Well, they're surfers, right? And
Linen.
Snuggles, stop it.
Snuggles.
So
This is how we roll.
but just think about this, right? Your little slice of heaven, Kauai.
It's so world
Millions
renowned.
of people
Yeah.
around the world are like enamored by it from what they've seen in movies, read in magazines. You know what I mean? Like
The talent pool that's
we
coming out
know
of
about
there.
Yeah.
you know, we know about pine trees. We've heard about Hanalei Bay,
Yeah, he's got pitched there a couple
and
times.
you live that life. And then the people that come from that little slice of heaven, the Irons Brothers, Barca, you know, like that's gnarly, right? And
Yeah. I mean,
and you lived it. You probably don't see what we like, you know, what the value that we put on it because you lived it and you take it for granted, right? Like you.
Well, I
At
did
that age,
did
yeah.
until a certain point for
Yeah.
sure. But then like a lot of people don't realize too, or maybe they do, but like that era of those guys and being so gnarly, like there was like an era above them of like kind of tough Howley guys that came from here that went to Kauai to surf and kind of like, you know what I mean? Like Alvin Gillette, his dad Richie's like probably one of the better older surfers ever. The guy surfed like Archie or something, you know what I mean? So there was like this like kind of crew of like Southern California, like Laguna, Newport, and then like Santa Cruz guys that kind of like they had moved there in the 80s, and then kind of they were the guys that were like, I mean, you see it like I'm gonna jump all over the place, but
That's
like,
fine.
but you kind of see it in Tahiti, like you see like these waves, and then like surfers start visiting those waves, and
Transplants.
they start leaving behind boards and whatever. And then the local group kind of starts to like get educated on like what boards start. You can ride these waves and whatever. And like kind of that was the crew. There was like a guy Jeff Steiner who like you had like Titus Kinimaka and all these like heavy Hawaiian locals that were like holding it down, and Titus is surfing the eddy, and he's like a celebrity almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you had like these Howley guys that kind of came in there and they had to earn their stripes a little bit and get beat up and sent in whatever. And I feel like, I mean, this is the way I saw it, but like that crew, like that Wolf Pack crew, which is like, the guys that I named or whatever, they kind of got to pick from those guys as, okay, these guys got these correct boards. Okay, All-Americs is what you should be riding. Oh, okay, like, you know what I mean? That's kind of how surf culture was getting over there, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't getting hand-me-downs. They weren't getting like they're scrapping for like whatever used board. Like they were in the know.
Yes.
And they were getting a lot of coverage.
And what was getting left behind was like good shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so that's kind of who I grew up with. It was like most of my friends' dads that we grew up surfing with, they were like
core surfers.
they were core surfers that were from over here, and then and they came to Kauai, and then like all of a sudden it's like, okay, like fucking, you guys want to get respect, you guys got to start surfing these waves, and like fucking, you got to, like it was just like it was a little bit of a cheat code kind of.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that circle in and out of there, for just week or weeks trips, or like there, you get a lot of not just the generation that you're talking about, like the people that have kind of anchored down there, but just the amount of talent,
Tourists and
tourists in a way, traveler
pros
pros that
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, freaking like, for example, like what I used to always think was so cool, I mean, might as well just jump on. Is like with Andy and Bruce. Is like Andy and Bruce, like they were obviously the shit and living on Kauai during that time, but like they used to have like all the killerest guys come and visit them. You know what I mean? Like we got to watch Corey, we got to watch Kobe, we got to, you know what I mean? Like we got to see these like we'd like see magazines and like hear of someone gnarly, and then they'd be at our local spot like that winter, like hey, like they're like doing the Pipe Master or something, and they're like, hey, you guys want to come to Kauai? And like we got to like watch Parko and freaking, and these guys were like in their prime, you know what I mean? Like,
That's where I'm.
That's what you're
That's
That's
what I mean.
what I'm kind of talking about.
Well,
It's
that's what I'm
like,
saying. These guys are like cycling in, and they're kind of like, oh, like I got a buddy, and he said I can come stay there, and then and I don't know. It was like I don't really see that happening now as much, but it was really rad when it was happening. Like I remember like seeing Dean Morrison for my first time. We were like 15, like whoa, fucking, you know what I mean? Like you just see these guys, and they seem like almost larger than life.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know if it's like that for Groms now, but maybe I don't know. It's just different.
I think some that are into it feel the same way that we did when we saw.
but it's definitely changed.
It's
Yeah.
changed.
A lot.
So take us back to the beach. What's your starting as a Grom? Like, where do you start? Is it pine trees? Like that's,
No, you're at the pier.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Okay.
at the pier. You gotta do kiddies. Like first wave I ever caught, I'll never forget it. It was Thanksgiving Day. It was a month after Hurricane Iniki happened on September 11th, '92, and then I remember
It was on September 11th. too?
Yeah,
Wow.
trippy, yeah.
Yeah.
And then whatever Thanksgiving that year, I was down at the pier, and I remember it was a fucking ace of spades, Billy Hamilton, freaking, Bethany's mom ripped, yeah, people know that, but she surfed really well. The dad surfed, but the mom ripped, Sherry, and she had like sick boards, so fucking, remember we were down at the pier, and got pushed into some whitewash, and kind of was like, whoa, this is sick, but like we said, it's like, there was no Costco foam board, so like if you wanted to go surf, you had to carry that Billy Hamilton every time you
Yeah.
wanted to go surf. And then my mom had like a little hatchback Honda Civic, so like we weren't putting the board in the car, you know what I mean? It was just,
Stashing it at a friend's house.
yeah,
or-
exactly. Like or if I did surf, it was like dragging it through the park. It was just wasn't. So the like boogie boarding was the shit. Like okay,
Yeah.
boogie board, we can stand up on our boogie boards, or we can pull into barrels. Like boogie boarding was the shit when you were a kid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So from the pier.
So you're doing the pier, and then you're getting the pine trees, and then
Pine trees is like
it's the hot
proving
spot.
ground,
Yeah,
right?
kinda.
That's where like all you guys
So like we got
all
lucky.
your
It was-
repertoire.
The guy that owned the Hanalei Surf Company, Charlie Cowden, he was like, it used to be called, I think it was called Sand People or something. It was called or Hanalei Windsurf or something prior to what it is now.
So he bought it and then changed the name.
Yeah, he bought it, and then he sponsored Andy and Bruce. And then when he did that, he kind of was like, you know what? Like Andy and Bruce were like 12 at this time. This is way before my time, but he like knew like, you know what? I'm gonna like start a surf team, and we're gonna have like an after school program for the kids that surf good. We're gonna try to help them out. So freaking, they actually like Steve Valier, who is Evan Valier's dad. He like knew this guy Russell Lewis, who was like he was Michael Peterson's best friend or whatever, like Aussie guy, and he convinced the guy, hey, you should move to Kauai and you can teach this surf coaching program, and freaking you can surf and do surf lessons and
Yeah.
make a living, and you can rent this little studio, and freaking the guy came, and then like he coached Dustin, he coached like freaking Alana and Bethany, and
What a trip.
yeah, like this guy was kind of like, he would help everybody, and he kind of taught us all how to surf heats, and I don't know, it was sick. And then to be on that team too, you kind of had to surf good enough. It wasn't just like you were invited, because like a part of the thing was, okay, I'm sure Huntington Surf and Sport, same thing, like you get a little team discount, you get a little sticker on your board, and you're kind of like a part of this crew, and it was a deal, you know what I mean? And then, so anyways, my buddy Gavin was like, he was kind of the best guy in our age group. And then freaking, I was just like, fuck, all I want to do is be on that team, like freaking, so then get on the team, and then you're surfing contests. You gotta remember too, is like, at this time, I'm like a black Polynesian. I'm like really dark. My mom's like, she's fair skinned, kind of howly lady, and then I'm going down to the beach, and I'm like in Manahuni division, and I'm like 6'1" already. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm huge.
That was
I'm
my
like a
next
man
question.
ground.
Did
Yeah.
you
No, I'm like
hit
rolling
surf?
up, and they're like, oh no, juniors doesn't surf till 10, and I'm like,
I'm only.
yeah, no, but we had a
I'm only
big,
11 years old.
yeah, and then like, yeah, exactly. So then like, and I think that's kind of like, even my road now is like, it was kind of good, because it's like, it made it very clear very quickly, like, you're very different. You know what I mean? Like everything's gonna be a little counted against you when it comes to this. I was like, okay, fuck. So then I started doing NSSA, and then we started traveling. And that's what I don't like. I don't really agree with the NSSA in Hawaii is that you had to travel around the islands in order to collect enough points. So if you did not come from money, you couldn't even fly over there to do the contest. So it was like kind of boxed a lot of good talent out. And like, not to touch up on it, but like, like Seabass, for example, he didn't do NSSA at all because he dropped out of high school, but also because like he didn't have the money to do the events. You know, he didn't really start surfing competitively till like 18, 19.
Yeah, you're not just hopping in a car down the coast. You're piling in. You gotta
so like,
flight,
we'd be going to NSSA's, and then we'd go back to our local spot, Kauai. He'd be fucking tearing it apart. Like, who cares what happened at that contest? Best surfers happening down here. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of weird. And then I started doing NSSA's, and like I'm in the age group where it's like Dusty Ping, Mason Ho, like, you know what I mean? It's like gnarly guys, like super gnarly. And then I'm like, okay, so now I'm surfing Vals. I'm 6'2", I'm 13, I got pit hair. Like, I'm just like, oh no, this is gnarly, you know? And then at that time, like, what's that?
Who was your first sponsor?
I rode for Counterculture. I got really lucky.
Shut the front door!
Yeah.
Epic.
Yeah, I rode for
Those are our boys here in Huntington.
Yeah.
We know.
Mike Schumuller and Pat
Pod,
Fraley.
Pod was like the guy that we dealt with.
Yeah.
And how did that? Hey, baby. How did that? That's Emery. How did the sponsorship happen?
It was through the shop, I think. The shop was like, you know, we're looking
One
for
of his brands. And
Yeah.
And
Is there anybody riding for Counterculture?
Dustin did.
Dustin. Oh,
Yeah, Barco was gonna ride for it, and then Seabass actually rode for Counterculture
Oh, cool.
too. Yeah, so it was like, I was like, okay, cool, I got a sponsor, you know, whatever. And then,
That was your first sponsor.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that, like, everyone else had, like, I think it's different now too, not to keep saying that, but it's like, everyone kind of had a sponsor. Like, every surf team, or every surf company was like making brands, whereas like now, like, you go around to Pine Trees and there's kids that are definitely surfing of good enough, but like there's not like who's gonna sponsor these kids? There's no brands, you know what I mean? That makes sense. Like back in the day, it's like there were so many different brands. You had like Ezekiel and freaking Planet Earth and like just real random brands that like are split. Like, hey, we're starting a surf team, whatever. Like, so there was a lot of opportunity, and like, you know how it is like, and it might be placebo, but like you're ripping, but then all of a sudden you got a sticker on your board. You're the man.
You're the man.
We talk about the power of the sticker.
Oh, it's a real thing. And what's
yeah.
more nuts is now to this day, if I see someone on the CT, if I'm watching their heat and they don't got a sticker on their board, I'm already like, this guy's not getting higher than an 8 in my book. Like, it's so weird. It's like,
we're so conditioned
to seeing that, because that sticker represents validation. You know what I mean?
But we talk about that blue collar like worker because, you know, like that, you know, regional guy, the best at the school, the best in the town, associated with the surf shop. Like, there's all these different like routes that kind of help you get sponsored, but it feels like there's a huge void in our industry with that.
You know, you coming from a less fortunate, right? Like your mom, single mom.
Yeah, like I could barely afford to do the contest. And NSSA was like, I'm not gonna lie, it was expensive. You had to pay a membership, then you had to fly, then you had to pay for the thing. Like, I got lucky. Like we had like I didn't meet my dad until I was like 15, so like he wasn't even in the picture. But I had friends' dads who kind of like stepped up and kind of like, oh, like we're gonna do like a little fundraiser to like help you out to get to do these contests, or you know, cool. like I had like little things. Like, actually, the first time I ever went to Oahu to like try to do a contest, Bethany's dad, he like called my mom and was like, hey, we're going to Oahu and I think Teva should like try to come with us and and that's
cool.
I was like, all right, cool. So then all of a sudden, like, I used to like go stay with the guy Tim Carroll. He used to shape for John Carper at the time, and then he started his own label. And then his son Nathan was kind of the man. You know, Nathan was like winning nationals and shit. So that was kind of like my first introduction to like kind of seeing the route of like, okay, if you want to be a pro surfer, you do these surf contests, and then that's how you know. But you gotta remember, is like there's that going on, and there's like this NSSA cookie cutter kind of like, hey, do the contest and do whatever. And then I go home and like the best surfer at all the spots, like the hometown god is Reef McIntosh, and he's flipping eggs at the local restaurant. They ain't got nothing going on, you know.
I didn't know Reef was from Kauai. I always thought it was like Oahu North Shore.
No,
but yeah, like I mean that was the kind of like surfer routine. We talk about guys that work, you know, busboy or waiters at night. They grinded, you know, construction, you know, like whatever you could do to like get in the water and stay in the water. And
no, like Kauai, like, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but it's like Kauai is one of the best surfing blue collar fucking groups of people ever. You know what I mean? Like, they're freaking.
They're in paradise.
Yeah. Like, to me, one of the best surfers I ever met my whole life is my buddy Marv, and he's a town electrician. You know what I mean? The guy can barrel ride just as good as John, or he's a crazy surfer. But like, he decided like, frick man, I can't really do that. I gotta pay bills and I gotta work and you know whatever. And I know every town kind of has that. So it's like, so anyways, it's like that's kind of what it was. I like saw that route and I was like, okay, like,
what board were you riding?
I'm riding my first surfboard ever was a Terry Chung, who's kind of like the guru, you know what I mean? He's the man. He's like kind of like a father to me. His son is one of my best friends, or like my brother. So his dad kind of shaped our boards, but he shaped boards for the waves that he rode. So he was like shaping us like, you know, round pins for Kauai or something. And I'm like, dude, we gotta go surf like slop at fucking Wellington. Like
contests are not a good way.
Yeah, and I think now kids, groms now, they don't realize like there wasn't an all-arounder back in the day. It was like you had squash tails, pin tails, round pins. Like now you can kind of like take a rad ripper and get barreled anywhere on the planet. I feel like those things are so like utility boards, I guess.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a quiver killer.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the first time you went to Oahu, like to go surf? You know, like on a trip, or was it for the contest?
We went for a contest, but I think the first time where I like actually saw what was going on, we went over there for
Triple
regionals was a week for NSSA. It was a week-long thing. You go over and you surf at Turtle Bay. We tried to do like the contest thing, but we were all like, okay, we're gonna surf our heats, and then we're gonna try to go to Pipe and like see what's going on. You know, and you gotta remember this is like the Welcome House isn't really blowing up yet, but it's coming, you know what I mean? And Bruce is kind of the man, but it's like everything's still kind of
infant stage.
In the infant stage, yeah. Andy's not winning world titles yet. It's just kind of like, but we kind of knew like, fuck, like I'll never forget this. Is I remember we're at NSSA and we're all hanging out, and Fuller shows up at the contest, and he just got the tattoo like whatever a week before, and he had like his name blasted, and we're like,
Fuller.
Yeah, exactly. And we were like, oh, he's a pro surfer. You know what I mean? Because like, I will say this, because like he's like, well, guy's like a brother to me, but it's like, is that he left Kauai really early. Like a lot of guys were going back and forth, but he you know, same kind of story as me. You know, he just had his mom, he didn't have any money, whatever. So he went to the North Shore super early, and I remember freaking we were at Foodland. And freaking, we're on Foodland on Kauai, and I remember there was like the new surfing mag or whatever, and we like opened it up, and it was a 2-page spread of him like with his arms open, like on, you know, getting pitted at Pipe, and we were like, whoa, like
we know that guy.
This guy's fucking doing it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's just different. Like nowadays, everyone's like Instagramming their story or whatever. It's like you kind of heard, oh, I heard he went over there. Like, oh, I don't know anything, and then all of a sudden you see it in the mag, and you're like, oh, it's on. Like that, like that's what it looks like. Like, holy shit. You know, because Andy and Bruce, they were a little older, and like this is like black-haired Andy with MCD. You know what I mean? That's when when we're actually catching waves and we're a part of the lineup now, we're not getting sent in. Those guys are like fully dominating. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna like
they haven't hit their accolades, but people know they're gnarly.
Exactly.
It was like they really haven't hit that like freaking
exactly, like Magna Plasm had just come out, Raw Irons had just come out. I remember we were like all surfing cannons one day, and freaking we went in. It was like me and a buddy of mine, and we're like kind of hitchhiking home, and Andy picked us up in this Pathfinder that he had. And he's like pounding Bobby Digital, the Wu-Tang album, and I remember we're like, you know, hitchhiking, we're sitting in the back of the car, and we're just like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, like, I don't know how everyone else felt, but like we kind of were like, this is the gnarliest surfer on the planet. Like,
for
sure. Like, this is the guy. This is like, we'd go to anywhere we went, he kind of ruled, you know, whatever. So.
Well, yeah, MCD with
more core division.
Bruce was riding for Quicksilver, right?
He's on Volcom already by now.
Oh, he's on Volcom.
Volcom at the time, which people don't really realize, or maybe they do, is like, they made the coolest gorilla fucking push ever.
Oh,
they showed up. They're like free contests at Pine Trees. But I remember guys were winning snowboards. None of us even seen the snow. We're like, what? Like fucking
where's this gonna go?
Fucking Volcom snowboards, and like I just remember like what, like Punk or Pat's there or skating this like half pipe, and we're just like, what is this brand? And there's just like black shorts with crocodile waistbands, and we're just like. I just remember being like, I don't know what it is, but like you better get in the fucking program. Yeah. Like, this is the shit, you know? So
they had such a good buzz, such a good crew, and they were just wild. Wild.
Party
hard, but they were professionals in regards to guerrilla marketing, running good events, taking care of everybody.
It wasn't by mistake.
No, it wasn't. They're like, hey, we're gonna smoke screen this, but we're doing it how it should be done. Like
what's crazy is how well they pick their regional guys.
Oh, it was like
Everywhere, like on the east coast of the mainland, but everywhere else in the world, they kind of pick the right person.
no, like even if the guys didn't meet, they were all a part of the same family tree
Dude,
in a weird way.
like-
you know, like
Yeah.
Bruce
I think
was Hanalei part of Waco?
Kauai's part of Vulcan.
Yeah, and Chava
It was
Green,
Chava, Kai,
yeah,
Bruce,
Took over what?
Yeah, it was sick.
yeah.
So then it was like, and like just to give you like stupid side stories is like, so I'm like living in Kilauea, and freaking Kalaw's girlfriend at the time, Nikki, who's the mother of their first child, Mahina, she's living in the studio that's connected to our house, and Kalaw's like, you know, he was gone away for a little bit, and he's coming back or whatever, and then you got freaking Kai just won the worlds for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what jiu-jitsu was, but like I said, I had two older stepbrothers who were like, they're tough guys. They both of them now they're both black belts underneath Bruno Ewald, this like, you know, really decorated Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, whatever. But I just remember Kai came home and freaking my brother Kale came home and said, he's all, bro, you ever heard of jiu-jitsu? Like fucking Kai just won this worlds thing, and wow, freaking, you know, and Kalaw's like living in our house, or like the studio thing. So we're kind of like, I don't know what's going on, but it's fucking on. Like, you know what I mean? Like I just remember my buddy Gavin would just be like, whoa, like, you know, like, I don't know what's going on, but we're in a good spot, you know,
Yeah.
like freaking.
Yeah, you're around all this like positive like
Yeah,
energy
like,
that just
it wasn't even
gnarly
just
shit.
surfing; it was just kind
Gnarly positive energy. I mean, the talent that you keep talking about, it's like, damn, that's right. Those guys all come from that spot. It
Yeah,
must have been
we all
such
come
a-
from the same side of the island, which is like very unique, you know.
Yeah.
Like, not to write off, like there's great surfers from the other side. You got like, you know, like Kaipo's from kind of the east side or whatever, and you have like Kavika Stillwell from the south side, and Ruben.
But it was, I mean,
But the concentrated zone was definitely, because the waves were there too. You know, what I
Yeah.
mean? It wasn't like that's what it was. The waves were there, and that's where everyone wanted to be, and you know, whatever. So, anyways, that was kind of going on, and then Pine Trees at that time was like, it was like the proving ground. Like you didn't go to Pine Trees unless you fucking were gonna go down there and rip. You know what I mean? And like there would always be a reform, and everyone was down there like trying all their hardest, and it was just a fun, I don't know, it's a really fun time to be a surfer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I look back on that and I'm like, fuck, like I wonder if Groms are doing it like how we were like, one guy would be hitchhiking on the corner by Manahuni in Kilauea. There's like this little like corner store gas station. One guy would be hitchhiking and four guys are hiding in the bushes, and then as soon as the car pull over, we'd all run out of the bushes. Yeah, and then we'd all get in the car, and then whoever was kind of like, there's every group's kind of got a weak link, and like as soon as that guy get in the car, you'd like throw that guy's board out, and then be like, oh, like you know, just stupid shit, and then we'd get down to Pine Trees, and like that's what kind of made it cool is like because all of us kind of, I wouldn't say broken homes, but we, like, our parents were busy. Like, my mom was, like, waiting, you know, she was a
Working
waitress
hard.
and working, and, you know, like, my stepdad was, like, he was just a hard-working construction guy. Like, no one's home. Like,
yeah,
it's
we're
like,
latchkey like beach kids.
yeah, you know, exactly. And I think that's kind of that time. You know, now everyone's got a cell phone, and they're calling their mom.
Oh, you're
constantly.
tracking. Where are you? You're not where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. But we were like, so like for us, like just getting from Kilauea town to Hanalei, which is like a 20-minute drive, that was like an adventure. Like, fuck, we made it to Hanalei. Fuck, like if we get waves, that's a bonus, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so anyways, yeah, it's just like,
No, you guys
No
don't
Gilly bikes, no
Yeah,
nothing.
no
yeah,
bikes.
no, and that time too, Subway used to have this thing called like a kids pack sandwich, and it was $1.47 for the sandwich, and then you get like 2 cookies instead, or you get a cookie and a toy, but we would get 2 cookies, and you get this little like Happy Meal type of sandwich. And I remember that was just like the shit. We're like, fuck yeah, we're gonna go surf Pine Trees, and we'll get our kids
Hang
packs.
all day.
Yeah. And then like those guys, there was a burger spot called Bubba's it's not there anymore, but it's kind of like the iconic spot, and that's where all the boys hung out. And we were kind of like, yeah, we're not hanging at Bubba's. We're gonna eat at Subway. You know, we'd go by there and it'd be like, you know, Barca and all those guys hanging out and just get picked on. And we're like, fuck, like okay, like one day we're gonna get waves of these guys. But so anyways, like just that was kind of like what my foundation was. Like, yeah, I'm hanging with these kids and they all rip and they're all kind of getting sponsored and doing good in contests, but like I kind of always like to surf bigger waves, and that was kind of like I was like, oh, like that's kind of where I like felt more of a, you know, a draw to whatever. And then I got really lucky when I was 15. I went to Tahiti and had this like, you know, kind of went and met my dad and, you know, just had this like trip, whatever. And then the last 2 weeks of the trip, Reef showed up with some friends from home, and then I went and like got to go on this like sick trip to Mohorea, the sister island of Tahiti, and got to go surf with him. And I remember thinking like this is it, like I don't know,
travel remote,
yeah,
like barrels and
exactly. I was like, this is it. Like I remember just seeing we like surf. It's wave hot PT, and it was like kind of maxing out and too big, and all the locals were kind of tripping, and then it was just like me and Reef and my buddy Marvin were just like, this is the shit. I don't know what this is called, but like this is kind of what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, and if you get paid to do this, that's cool. But like this is that was kind of
15.
Yeah, I'm 15, and like I just remember kind of tripping.
And you've had your experience with NSSAs and
yeah. I kind of knew like I wasn't kidding.
You're not
anybody.
built to go rip 3 foot waves.
Yeah, like I had a final in time at like Val's with Mason, and I remember just thinking like, well, I'm never gonna beat this guy. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a kid. You know what I mean? Like he won, and I got second. I was kind of like I think we're good on this. Like we know what tricks we do, and it's not here. You know, so I kind of went back to Kauai, and then all my buddies kind of were doing that, and then Kauai had a weird gap. There was like that group that we talked about that were, you know, the wolf pack, the legit wolf pack, and then there was kind of a break until like you had like Alex Smith, Tyler Newton, those guys, like, and like Alana and those guys. They were like a good 4 years younger than us. So the group that I was in was kind of like, it was a little trippy, you know what I mean? Like there was some momentum, but I don't know, whatever. Maybe I don't know.
No, it happens everywhere.
Yeah, there's like a gap.
We talk about it like in surfing, which is cool. Is, you know, here you are. If you play organized sports or you're in classes, like you're kind of within that group all the time. But when you're
those are your sparring partners.
But when you're in surf, you're with the younger, you're with the older, you're with a whole huge range of different types of age groups and surfers and talent, size, and everything. And it just makes you such a better, well-rounded like person to just deal with.
For sure.
You know, different types of personalities.
And what really is a trip is the talent that comes out of certain places, right? Like you guys, Andy, Bruce, Bethany Hamilton, like there's so many people that have come out that are world-renowned surfers, right? World-class surfers. And then you're like, okay, how come that just doesn't like happen all the time, right? Like Huntington here, we've had, Bud Lamas, Jeff Deffenbaugh, Kanoa Urashi, Brett Simpson, like guys that made it, Jay Larson, guys that made it on the main stage, right?
Yeah.
And then like the South Bay or Malibu, like Chris Frohoff, Ted Robinson, but Greg Browning, but then what happened after that, right?
Yeah, you go through gaps, and it's just cycles,
Yeah.
And San Clemente right now,
Santa Cruz, San Clemente,
For sure, and I'm not putting myself in that group in any way.
No,
I'm just kind of like I was a witness to it and I was around it, and like just to like really go ahead is like I don't know if you ever read that Outliers book by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah,
but kind of like basically what it is that the guy like kind of breaks down like successes of people in life, and then those aren't by accident. There's all these factors that led to why that certain degree, like for the internet, for example, like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and whatever. There's like a certain select. There's a reason why, because like Steve Jobs' Bill Gates' mom was like a teacher at the school that had the first computer, and then Steve Jobs, like there was all these factors of why they were able to be around the computer and get their $10,000. So with that group that we talked about, like the reason why those guys, I feel like got gnarly so quick and so is that.
Yeah, you're surrounded.
They're surrounding. They had crazy waves. They had those older group of guys that kind of said whatever, and then they were kind of left to their own devices. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, I feel like it's kind of like music. Is like Jimi Hendrix was the best rock guitarist. Right? I mean, the guy fucking learned how to play the guitar upside down, whatever. But the reason why is because he was unadulterated. He was just by himself creating his craft and just like fucking. This is what I think it is, whatever. Right? Well, the surfing on Kauai is like. Guys watched Wave Warriors or whatever the fuck it was, and then they were kind of like, okay, that's surfing, we're gonna go and do this, and freaking, they were kind of like, they weren't taking outside influences, they were just kind of sticking to what they had, you know what I mean? And then
And they created their own
Exactly.
style.
There's
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Whereas now I think there's so much outside influence that kids almost like, they get almost like,
You schedule this, dude? But no, you're so right, because the influence, the timing, and who you're surrounded by, and you know, sometimes it's better not to be so, you know, like right now with the internet, exposed with the internet, and I mean everybody's watching, you know, and people would hate, you know, say this, but like Ethan Ewing, fucking incredible, like how powerful and precise and gnarly he is, but it's kind of like, I think every kid that I watch now wants to surf like him, you know?
Or talks about it.
Or talks like him. And I'm like, you know, there's not enough individuality, you know, because if everybody's like, there's a hype, you know, like whether it's Andy or Kelly or Raw, you know, like there's these certain.
that's
Look.
funny. It's funny you got that.
But-
because when I just ate at I ran into Chucky that does like snapped and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
And Ethan came out, whatever. He's like, how crazy is this? Like people say he surfs like Andy. It's like, he doesn't. He surfs like a better version. It's perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's coached.
Yeah.
And then it's like not really that fun to watch in
Yeah.
a weird way. There's no spontaneity. You know, it's like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And the form is unreal. And like I've surfed with them live and been like, I've
How
seen
fast and gnarly.
it's unbelievable.
But-
But it's coached.
but-
Yeah.
So then it's like,
And that's, you know, that's surfing. It's so personal, and it's subjective,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
your own style, and it's like, you know, at first, Jordy Smith, I was like, I don't know, it's kind of quirky, but I'm drawn to it. And then after you start watching it over and over, I'm like, he's the fucking man.
Rips.
You know, John, when he was little, I'm like, I don't know, he's kind of quirky, he's unorthodox, whatever. Now you like him, fuck, that's gnarly.
Yeah.
And you know, you look at Dane Reynolds, I'm like, you know, you start looking at, I'm bringing up the best of the best, you know, and you're like,
for sure.
you're like, why and how, and it's appealing, and their spontaneity, and like, you know, they're just unique, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, I think kids now with all the video and all the social media, you know, they're just,
Well, it's
you try to mimic. And
They're
emulate.
trying to fit themselves into a box because they're just like, that's what I
But-
need to be, instead of just letting be what you want to be.
But it's also like, you know, your size. Like I'm sure you're looking at like,
So, yeah.
you're looking at like the big boys like Sonny and Johnny Boy and friggin' Dane and like guys that like
I'm like looking at like Ty Van Dyke and
Yeah.
like Kaimana Henry. And I'm
Right.
kind of like, I remember when I first saw like Computer Button, I watched the Honolulu part. I was like, whoa, bro, like that's me. Like that's what I want to follow
Yeah.
and do. You know what I mean? Because like I would watch. Like for example, you know, like when you would watch Taylor Steele movies back in the day, everyone has their favorite guy, you know. And I was like, I guess Benji's my favorite guy because he's just stylish and funny. But like, I wasn't like I was like, oh, I could surf like that guy. Like no one had my body type. I wasn't, you know.
yeah, you can appreciate it.
I appreciate
you can
it.
appreciate all the different types of great surfing, but when it really comes down to it, is like how, you know, what do you see in somebody that's like your own, you know?
yeah. But going back to like everybody gravitating to one person,
Yeah,
that's always happened.
for sure.
You know, like everyone wanted to be Aki, everyone to be Curran,
Yeah.
and everybody wanted to be Slater.
Yeah.
It happens with every single generation, but this generation is a little different with, you know, how they get there.
All the coaching, like you said, the technique,
Yeah.
you know, like there's just a lot of overthinking
I
everything.
think the best thing on the internet are these surf skate coaching.
Oh.
I fucking love when people are like, I eat the shit up. I'm just like, what is this? Where are these lessons happening?
like the arms, the
form
technique,
one, like,
or-
and then like Sterling fucking ripping on them. I'm just like, this is amazing. Like,
it's so good.
I don't know. I eat that shit up. I think
Yeah,
it's
no, it's
super funny.
entertainment.
Yeah.
But you know, hey,
But
good
it's
for those
kooky.
people.
Like, I'm all, who's doing that? Like, I don't know.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, we had skateboards. We were kids, and we are surfing everywhere
Oh, yeah,
down the
we're
side,
slashing.
finding little sections, but we didn't have the killer boards. It was just
No.
it's like the surfboards we had, just shitty one board to get you from A to B that wasn't really precise on like carving, but we still made it happen.
Yeah. So you're 15. That trip in
Yes, I
Yeah.
come back from that trip, and then like, I guess too is like you don't even realize it, but when you're in that age group, like or when you're 15 or whatever, like you're kind of being shaped into the adult that you're really gonna be, right? Like that you don't even really realize it, but that it's happening full force.
Yeah.
So 15, I
And you're invincible.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah.
just so cocky, and I can just take on the world.
Exactly.
You didn't meet your dad until you were 15? Was it on that trip that you met him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We kind of like, he was just in, he was kind of, he was like, he came from, his brother was one of the richest men in Tahiti. He was one of the first guys to bring Nissan and freaking all these car companies.
Yeah.
It was like his half brother. My dad has a crazy fucking story or whatever, but he was always like kind of a bastard child and left Tahiti when he was 15 and traveled all over the world and freaking.
Your dad?
Yeah, he worked as like a stevedore, like on top of the big like mountain. Like he worked on this like Norwegian cruise line. He's been to every port in the world. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Just like working as like a deckhand, you know. And it's kind of how he learned English and
he's Tahitian?
He's Tahitian,
Okay.
big black Tahitian, like bigger and taller than me. Like he passed away a few years ago, but like even like right before he had his stroke, he still could have beat my ass easily. Like he was, he was a force.
He's
you know?
tick.
Yeah, he's a known dude, but he was he ran like an illegal casino kind of in Papeete and was kind of in and out of jail and just like kind of a smooth guy. Like he was in his set. Like for example, like when we were at the hospital and he was kind of this was it. He had his wife and his girlfriend who were like kind of more like towards his age though, like towards his age. And then like one of the last days when we were there, this like pretty good looking 25-year-old walks into the hospital with flowers around. I was like, wow, this guy's just a fucking legend. Like what? Like and then just to give you like a real funny story, just because we're talking shit.
Yeah.
Is I remember one of the first times I went to Tahiti with Hanalei Alexander. He's like, oh, well, call your dad. Like, let's get a car. Let's ask him if we can borrow a car or something. Like, can we stay at his house? So, just kind of like, what Tahiti is. You're just trying to make some connections and you landed there.
So, yeah, tight.
Like anywhere.
Expensive.
And it's very unaccommodating. Like, whereas like Bali, you land and there's 100 dudes trying to get you everything you need as soon as possible.
You're on your own then.
Yeah, Tahiti's like, you're on your own.
Staying in somebody's house or you're sleeping on the beach.
Exactly. And you're like, where's Choco? And they're like, oh, don't worry, we'll take you in a few days.
Sorry about the dog.
Yeah.
Bro, stop it.
Zip it. You little rat. That little
Hey, babe.
guy.
This is my wife, April.
How's
That's
it going?
Teva.
Nice to meet you.
What's up, wife? Yeah, you're on camera.
You're on camera too. Okay, so your dad.
Yeah. So, anyways, I remember we got a car from him, and we got to borrow this. He was a taxi driver, is what he said he was, but that was just so
Cover.
Yeah, exactly. So that he had like a job, but he had this casino. Like that's kind of how he had made money for like 30 years. He was known as kind of this guy, like kind of the Godfather a little bit. Like anybody in Papeete, like they know, like there's a gold star in the cement sidewalk at the Vaete, which is like the marketplace in TV, with his name in the ground, like Coco Dexter, like
Wow.
like kind of like the Walk of Fame kind of thing. He's like, look, I'm a star, and that's what I want. Like, whatever. He was one of a kind guy. But anyways, he let us borrow this gold Mercedes, and I remember we freaking went to the club, and we're like partying Monterey, and we're just like, oh, this is sick. And we're getting chicks. I remember I got this chick, and we get her back to the car, and she's like, whose car is this? And I'm like, oh, it's my car, like, and she goes, this is not my car.
She knew whose car it
and
belonged
right there,
to.
we're like, holy shit, like this is the Don's car, like. So anyway, it's just a funny. Me and Calm kind of looked at each other like, whoa, what is going on with this guy,
That's pretty rad, like not knowing and then just falling into like,
it was like funny
Dad's
too, is
the
because I'm the youngest of 6 from him. You know what I mean? He had 2 kids with one lady, 2 kids with another. Had another kid that from another woman, and then there's me. So he was, and then 2 of the kids from the 2 pairs, they're 4 months apart. So he had 2 women pregnant at the same time. So he's just one of those kind of guys.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Just a philanderer.
yeah.
Right? And so, because your mom grew up in Venice.
She grew up in Venice. She's
And
like a
then
California girl, and she moved to Hawaii.
To Hawaii and then Tahiti? Is that where they hooked up?
No, yeah, she moved to Tahiti when she was 20 and lived there for like a year or so.
And hooked up with
hooked up with my dad.
Okay.
And then, kind of what the story was.
Right.
But anyways, what I was gonna say is that like when I met him, it wasn't like I was like, oh man, we're ready to play catch with you, or whatever. It was kind of more like fuck, like what do we do now? Like I'm here, I love Tahiti, I love hanging out and surfing and cruising and whatever. I'm not trying to come at you like asking for child support or trying to like where we're like guilt trip them. It's kind of more like fuck, like
Going to get to know you.
Yeah,
let's enjoy this time
Yeah.
and like whatever. You know, out of all my brothers and sisters, he was kind of respected me the most for that. As he kind of was like, you know, I'm like, he just shows up and takes me for freaking face value. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah,
Because
totally.
I kind of had a stepdad at home that like he taught me how to be like a man. You know what I mean? It's kind of like kids, you got to get a job and you got to work.
But
and
it's
you
not.
gotta do this
Yeah,
and-
but it's not going to serve either of you, right? If you just come in like you know,
It's just gonna stall things up.
Yeah, with a freaking chip on his shoulder and regret and remorse. It's like, dude, like it's life.
It
man.
is what it is.
You know?
I don't know what your scenario was at the time. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and now that I have a kid, I kind of go like, fuck, like it's nuts. Like, I get it. Guys walk away, fucking, I don't know. Like, I get it. You know what I mean? I couldn't do it, but I can see it. So, but anyways, so I came back from that trip, and then
and the waves were pumping. You said.
waves are pumping. And it was funny too because we didn't even. I think they went to Chokes earlier in the trip, and it was rainy, and like this is like 2001. So like you're like hitchhiking to town. You're getting a magic seaweed report printed out, and like that's your surf report. You know what I mean? It wasn't like you're checking Surfline every day, going like, oh, tomorrow at noon it's fucking pumping. You know?
Yeah,
like,
winds are gonna drop at like 3 knots and then just switch it. Yeah,
yeah,
like,
it's just kind of more like, oh, there might be waves in this kind of window or whatever, you know. So I just remember going, okay, whatever. So anyways, that trip, I remember Reef had just gotten a DUI, so he couldn't rent a car, and we're like hitchhiking around the whole time. And I was just thinking like, how's this guy? You know, like he's the freaking man, but he's not really the man. He can't even drive us. You know what I mean? Like I was kind of like talking shit. I was just like, wow, you know, whatever. But anyways, I get back to Kauai, and it was kind of like okay, like freaking, you're doing that NSSA thing or whatever, but like, you know, things are different now. You're gonna like, you want to go surf waves, you know, that's your trip, whatever. So at that time, I actually started a brand then. I was like freaking 13, 14 or 15 to that trip. At 13, 14, I had a brand already going.
What?
And yeah, we like used to sell. I used to like stencil freaking these shitty little. It sounds super funny. You guys are gonna laugh in my face, but if you watch Loose Change and you remember at the end when Slater pulls up and he orders the food out of the
drive-thru.
speakerphone,
Yeah.
he says like 2 fries, a shake, whatever, you know, whatever he says.
Yeah.
And the guy in the phone, in the speakerphone, he says something. I'm sure like it's just because our tape was fucking scratched or something, but we used to think he said this word, Aushausta. We'd hear this like, Aushausta. And like, so we joke around at each other, like we catch a wave and be like, oh, Aushausta, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was just a stupid, like,
but just a random.
but it was a word.
Aushausta?
Yeah, Aushausta. Like, if you watch Loose Change, you watch that part, like, it was
I'm
like,
gonna watch it.
whatever, it was
Were
like,
you in Loose Shakes? Yeah.
yeah. So he goes, because the chick's like, they're like, oh, I'll get the super rib. And then the guy's like, oh, super rib doesn't come out till March or something. He's like, oh, okay, I'll just take the ball. And then he says something. Anyways, it was like a dumb joke. Yeah. Like, anyways, we fucking built a brand around it. We're like, fuck, no, that's our.
What was that? What was the meaning of the word to you guys?
To us, it was
To you
that
guys.
we used to watch those movies and it like was symbolizing that
Connection.
time in surfing. We're like,
Tech connection.
yeah, exactly. Like, fuck it. Like.
But when you
But
get
it's
out
like
of
an inside joke, but yeah.
Exactly. It was like it was a word that caught on. It wasn't like it was my nickname or anything. Like
Yeah.
it was like, you know what I mean?
no, but when you used it, would you cut out of the wave and you ripped
No.
it?
It was just
Like
like it
you
was just
say.
a joke. It was just like a joke. No. I don't know. Somehow the word stuck. But anyways, we started
That's
making
still
T-shirts.
Aushausta.
Yeah, and then I'm like, all of us kind of had our sponsor, right? So I'm like writing for Counterculture. My buddy Gavin's writing for Hurley. My buddy Shane's writing for Quick or whatever. Like, so we had like our sticker on the nose, but then we had our own little thing underneath. Like, well, that's our thing, you know? Like, so we had like a little. I would either like spray paint it on our boards or just whatever. It was like a.
Do you have a logo?
Yeah, we just have the word, and then freaking.
How do you spell Aushausta?
I don't even know now. Like it was long. It was like people were like, what is it, Oshkosh? And I was like, you know, we're like, no, like. So then I think
You don't understand.
the sticker just said OWSH. That was like our thing.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But anyways, so then like this is high school time. So I'm like 15. We're like partying. You remember too? It's like, and it's. I'm not trying to like make it sound super cool, but it was like. Kauai, like, there's no nightclubs, there's no, like,
Yeah.
you know, you're not going
Small
to,
town.
you're
House
not-
parties.
Yeah, but you're not even going to house parties because, like, people's houses ain't that nice, you know what I mean? Like, we knew a couple of chicks that lived in a cool spot, but it was more like beach parties. So, like, the girls would come to school, and they would sell these bags of cookies, and the bags of cookies were like $20. And you're like, you're all what? And they'd be like, listen, this $20 pays for the keg, and if you see you drinking out of the keg and you didn't buy the cookies, I'm gonna tell so and so or whatever, right? So we're like, okay, fucking. So anyways, they have these huge ragers on the beach.
Nice little cover. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And then like the DJ was this guy, DJ Stiffneck, who like bagged the groceries at Foodland, but like he broke his neck break dancing or some shit. So now he was the DJ, and then you gotta remember, it's like Andy's winning world titles and then showing up at these fucking beach parties, and we're in high school. We're like, this is the sickest thing
the best
ever.
thing ever.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
You guys doing bonfires? and
yeah,
shit?
yeah, just like huge raging, like gray tarp tent kind of style, like shantytown style tents that would set up the night before or the day before, and then DJs moved in with a generator, and then like Toyota trucks on the beach. You know, it was like big ragers, it'd be like hundreds of people, thousands, you know, like not 1,000, like a couple hundred people.
There.
No, in Lumahai, this beach that's like down cold.
Out of the way.
We call it like deep country kind of. It was like off limits. The cops couldn't get there, you know, whatever. And like that was like big fights and drugs and just like shit was going nuts. You know what I mean? In that time, it was rough. It was like kind of like, oh fuck, this is nuts. And then that's kind of where we were coming into our own, whatever.
That's where size comes in over here.
Yeah, we're just kind of like, okay, like fucking we're it, you know. So now we're like our little group, and we're all surfing and cruising. And then I freaking I fucking like partied too hard and like had mushrooms for my first time. And then my mom like grounded me for like a month. I was like, what the fuck? Like, you're out of control, you know? And then that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna build this brand. So I built up these like posters that looked like the Eddie Aikau poster, but it had like every one of my friends' names that was gonna be in the contest.
Oh, rad.
And then their nickname in between, you know what I mean? So it'd be like my friend Zach was like Zach, Beak, Areola, like Shane, Swan, Valier, like Evan, you know, just everyone had a nickname. And it was super fun. And
Don't we love nicknames?
Yeah, and then I would hand out the flyers, like, okay, we got this like underground contest, okay, and then everyone got to put in the money, put the pot, whatever. But the kicker is like, fuck, we had like one at our, like the waves had to be firing, and then we would just show up and be like, okay, like fucking we're having it at Pine Trees today, and like freaking we'd kind of take over the peak, and then fucking all of a sudden like Barca's like, fuck, I want to in, because of course he wants to take a bunch of kids' money. Like, you know, we're surfing good. Like the Grom divisions, like Tyler Newton and Alex Smith, and like the Grom division was hard. Like I was like, fuck, I don't want to surf in that division. But then we called it like Terminators. It was like the open division. And you had like Hanalei and our buddy Milo and freaking Evan and then like one of them Bruce surfed in, and then one of them Andy. It was just like, it was kind of like, oh fuck, this is kind of nuts. Like we got a little vibe, you know, we got a little, and then we had like trophies, and then we'd have like, and then everyone's
So
money.
you put this contest.
Yeah, I was like kind of the organizer, and we put up pop-up tents, and we had our little clipboards, and yeah, like we had like a fight one time because like some Brazilian dude that kind of knew us like was a judge, and then Gavin beat fucking Barca, and Barca lost it. He's like, fucking Brazilian judges in here, like we're just like, oh, like. Just, it was funny, you know what I mean? Because all of a sudden,
there's no way that Gavin beat me.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like, fuck that, Brazilian judge, and Gavin surfs like a Brazilian. That's why he fucking. It was just like a funny,
shit talking so bad.
Oh, just crazy, yeah. So, and then like Kauai at this time, he's like making a head. You know what I mean? He's like making his movie and his brand, and like, fuck, I took him to my high school for career day. I was like, oh, Kauai is freaking. Yeah, exactly. I was like 10th grade. I was like, I'm just thinking like, I got my brand. Now I got Kauai, who's a legit pro surfer. He's got his brand. I'm at career day. Like I'm just like, you know. And then at this time, like, I know it just sounds like talk shit, but like I worked at Bamboo, which was, now it's called Barracuda. It's like a fancy restaurant, but it was owned by this guy, Joel Guy, and he was kind of like he's a really cool guy, but he filmed this movie called Crossing the Line, which was about Andy winning his first title. Mm. So he was good friends with Andy and Bruce, and he was making this movie, and this is the time like, Conley's making a head, Chucky's making Snapped. This, you know what I mean? They were kind of like almost indie films. Like you had Taylor Steele and those guys. They had like the good cameras. Remember you had to have like a one chip to film, or like Taylor Steele would only take clips if you had it on like a Crip camera, right? So then there was these, you know, like Conley. So they're like, well, fuck it, we're just gonna film Andy and make our own movie, you know? Yeah. So I'm like 15, 16, and I'm a busboy at this restaurant, and this guy who was doing that thing, it was like a 2-year period. That's when Andy won the first and second title. So Andy's coming home from events, and he's like, and it's like the craziest. Like Ryan Hackman's mom was the hostess, Sherry Hackman, who's Jeff Hackman's ex-wife. Lion Hamilton, who's Larry's brother, is the bartender, who's like a fucking animal, fresh out of jail and just ready to party. And then freaking, I'm the busboy, And then Lindy was
That was
like,
the spot.
Lindy was like a hostess sometimes. It was just like a funny thing. But then like Andy would win a contest come in town, and then I just remember the guy Joel would call and be like, you gotta fucking hide all the expensive bottles. The boys are coming in and fucking.
They're gonna drink it.
Pretty much, they like drank the guy out of business. Is what happened. Like they didn't expect Andy to win that much, and the guy didn't really have. You know what I mean? No one went there to eat dinner. They would just go to the party. So it was like. So anyways, I got to kind of experience that whole trip, and then that's kind of when I built my, really good friendship. Is like I was like freaking Kauai was kind of like this older brother, and then Reef was kind of like the guy, and Reef was just going over to Oahu. You know what I mean? Like Reef's 30 years old, deciding he's going to be a pro surfer. Like, oh, what? Like
You didn't start till that late, huh?
or 27-ish. You know what I mean? Like and we Ryan's dad Jeff, who's like. To this day, still one of the best surfers I've ever got to surf with. The guy's like in his 70s and like still charging Hanalei and shit. And like, so he lived on Kauai, and Quicksilver was, still he's like Quicksilver Europe's blowing up. So we were like exposed at an early age to some really cool shit. Does that make sense? Like, so anyways, that's kind of what the history of that was. And then my brand I was like selling some t-shirts, and I just had an idea in my head. I was like, this is what I want to do. Like. Pro surfing, I get it. Like, it's not really my thing. I was still kind of sponsored, but I was like, I think trying to build my own brand, or
You were already on that vision of
I just kind of
good waves and doing your own thing.
I just wanted to be a part of the culture, and I didn't really know where that was, but I knew like I had good people around me, So I was just
when did you get sponsored by Analog?
This was after high school, so everyone kind of went to college. And freaking, like everyone's kind of like going to college or whatever, and then I freaking, I like applied to school and was like, okay, I'm gonna do the college thing too, like kind of pulled my grades together and whatever, and then I applied for college, and then I went to Tahiti, and then I remember I surfed chopes for my first time, and I met this guy, Adam Desposito, Biff. He was like he was an American dude that lived at chopes, and freaking. He like kind of rode for Quick, but not really. He was just kind of like a character. But he like, if you want to get drugs, you want to get chicks, you want to get barreled, Biff was the fucking guy. You know what I mean? He was kind of like a little underground hero kind of. And I remember we met him, and freaking, I just remember I was going home, and he's like, whoa, what are you guys doing? Like, there's another swell. Like, this is Chope's like like the Tahitians kind of only thought Chopo got good when the contest was in town. So like the local talent, like they're not even surfing Chopes, you know what I mean? And then the kids that ruled Tahiti now, they were like boogie boarding or like not even, you know what I mean? Like Taude Henry, one of my favorite humans on the planet, like he was a boogie boarder and maybe not even he's a lot younger, you know what I mean? So there wasn't really a local crowd out there, And then Raymond is kind of like doing his trip. He's like coming when they're slow, or he has surfers staying with them, but like no one was really trying to monetize the experience out there. Does that make sense? Like we were just kind of sleeping on this guy Elvis who owned the snack. We like sleep at his house on the beds, and we pay like $10 a night to stay there and just like fill our board bags with ramen and tuna and just like fuck it, we're gonna hang out and learn how to surf chopes. And it was
Are you goofy or regular?
I'm regular.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, okay. And I just remember freaking we're leaving. And we're like, yeah, like we gotta go home, whatever. And he just looked at me like, what do you mean? What are you guys doing? Like there's fucking chicks to pump, there's waves to catch. Like, what do you even go back to Kauai? And then we're like,
figure something out.
Exactly. I was like, I gotta work. He's all, what are you? And I'm a bus boy at the hotel. And he's like, dude, he just laughed in my face, like, and I swear I went home and I just remember going like, I don't think college is for me, bro. I think I'm gonna do this surf thing. Like all my friends were in college and they were down here and they were like, like I had buddies going to university in San Diego and stuff, and they're like, oh, there's chicks and there's parties, and somehow I was like, bro, there's guys catching 10-foot fucking bombs right now, like getting really barreled around the planet. Like I think that's where I want to go and try to, that makes sense. And then I just had I had a lot of cool experiences like that, and then I went to Bali and got to go to. Remember got same thing, like went and surfed Desert Point with Rory Parker, and I remember he did the same thing. He was just like, he's like, what? Where are you guys going? Oh, I gotta go home. He's like, there's fucking waves to ride and there's shit. You know what I mean? Same thing. Like Bali at that time is like raging. You know what I mean? You got like Kobe and the Bra Boys, Christians living full time down there. Like I was like, right? Like why am I going home? Like that's kind of just what resonated in my head. Is I just remember Kobe Albertson told me, he's like, there's 3 types of people that do what we do. There's drug dealers, rich kids, or pro surfers. You've got to figure out which one of those you're going to be.
I love it.
Right?
I think you told me that the other day.
Yeah, and I kind of was like, fuck, I'm not really any of those three, but I really want to get barreled, you know? So then I went home, and then that's when I got on, or I calmly was like, you know what, let's just get you on a program. So, okay, cool. So then I'm like writing for Analog, and, you know, Mike Murciano kind of got me on Nixon, and I'm like, okay, cool, this is kind of, I'm going to try to do this deal, you know? And got to go to, you know, do a trip to Indo and into East.
So did they put you on payroll?
No, I'm just fucking, okay, move
Free
to the
clothes,
North.
maybe
and there's a house
travel
every year.
fund.
Yeah, and there's a house. You get to come to the house every year and post up, whatever. And then I went to Tahiti and I broke my leg.
Oh.
And freaking, I broke my leg surfing this slab on the east side of Tahiti. Kind of more of a boogie board wave, but it was you know, we were surfing it and like,
Slabbing.
yeah, just fucking super kegged out, and I kind of just like chip shot it in. I'd been surfing all day, like 6 hours. Me and my buddy, this boogie boarder turned surfer kid, this guy Ryan, and we're surfing, and you know, of course, like, oh, one more, we're just gonna catch one more, and then we're gonna go in. And fucking, I just pulled in and got blown out of the barrel. And when it spit, I couldn't see the exit, and I flipped up into the lip. And when I went over in the lip and landed, I landed on my fin. My fin just karate chopped my ankle in half. And I was like, it just felt like, it looked like someone
Severed
just,
it?
yeah, it looked like someone took a machete to my ankle. Like your ankle holds your foot like this.
Yeah.
This whole cap just got cleaned out. Just,
Oh.
so I'm just like, I'm all under, you know, like, oh fuck, whatever. And
Bleeding like crazy.
oh, just it looked like a murder scene, like full murder scene. And I, you know, got into the beach. I go to stand up, fucking my leg gives out. I end up like snapping some tendon that holds your foot or gives you the arch in your foot. Like it was just a fuck deal. So I'm just like, oh, go to the hospital, and then kind of came back. Yeah, in Tahiti. So I spend the night in the hospital, or spend a few days in the hospital, and then, you know, I get back to Kauai, and that's kind of when it hit me. I was like, okay, like the pro surfer thing, you missed that train. That's not your train. You know what I mean? Like you gotta be either freaking totally blowing up. You know what I mean? Like one of my best friends, Steph, he's like fully making a living doing the off the wall closeout thing, but that train was ahead of me. Like it wasn't. You know what I mean? Now we're living in a time now where like Nike's bought up the industry. A lot of brands are shutting down, or they're not kind of existing, right? And then a lot of brands are trying to, like, everyone's trying to make cuts, you know. So I was like, okay. And I had made friends with like some of the guys at Analog and kind of got good advice just on like kind of how the brand thing works. And I was always like more interested in that. I was like, when Hanalei got me on there, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm a pro surfer. I was thinking like, I'm gonna fucking get a job in this somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that was where my
Networking and learning
something.
the
I don't know.
business.
I was just like, there's an opportunity here, you know. And then you know, and then I went back home, and I was already I did surf lesson shit, always surf school stuff, whatever. And then I met this woman, and her name was Rhonda, and she freaking came to the surf school I was working. And this was right before I had broken my leg, but this was kind of it all makes sense right here. Is that I was doing the lessons, you're making like $20 a person, right? You're like fucking making peasants pay. You're like finishing it in, and you made like $200 or whatever, and you're like,
Which is
it's funny,
damn good, yeah.
but it's like whatever.
But it
right?
still work.
What are you, 17 or?
No, I'm like 20 at this
Okay.
time. You know, I'm like kind of like my best surfing is definitely or at that time. I'm like, well, fuck, I know what's up. I know what boards to get. I know what swells to chase. Like I was pretty hungry, you know. And then she was like kind of like this tech lady, and she was building this business at the time. And she was kind of like, fuck, I need someone to be my surf coach. And then she had 3 kids. And she freaking, I didn't like living on an island. You're raised by the community around you. No one has nannies. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't understand nanny culture. Well, when I met her, I was like, oh, this lady's one of those people that needs a nanny. She doesn't raise these kids. Like when you know what I mean? I was kind of like, you know what I mean? I'm like kind of tapping in. So then I was like, okay. So I remember I took her surfing, and then the surf school was kind of mad. They're like, you can't steal our clients, whatever. And I was like, you're gonna have to kind of fucking rub people the wrong way to get ahead in life sometimes, you know. I was like, you're not gonna miss this one lady, don't worry. So I kind of took the lesson, and then I remember I came back from surfing with her, and I like cooked them breakfast, and they didn't know how to cook. And then it was kind of a weird thing, but then all of a sudden I was like, I'm a surfing nanny. That's my job. that's the job that I'm gonna fucking be, and that's how I'm gonna get paid to surf.
You're not going to do a 1 hour session. You're going to do whole days or half days.
Exactly.
And
I'm like
take
22
care.
at the time, and I'm like, I'm $800 a day, and I'm fucking cooking and taking people like multiple surfs a day and cooking and barbecuing at night, and I'm like kind of creating these experiences around these people.
So this one lady,
Super smart.
with her 2 or 3 kids.
She had 3 kids, yeah, and she wanted to learn how to surf really bad, and she definitely needed someone to like get some hand holding.
But you had that experience, and the light bulb in your head said, "This could be my business."
Well, because like I worked restaurant jobs, and I was like, fuck, like yeah, I like the dawn patrol, but I really like to catch the last wave of the night. You know, like sunset, fucking, you know what I mean? Hawaii swells rise in the evenings. You know what I mean? Like pipeline goes off in the evening. You know what I mean? Like you know. So I'm just thinking like, I want to get the evening sessions. I don't want to be.
Busful in at a
I
restaurant.
was working at the St. Regis, which sits over Hanalei Bay, and I remember I'd watch all my friends surf every night, and I'm like bussing tables, and I just remember the waitress looked at me and she's like, you know, you work really hard one day, you could be like me. And I remember I just walked straight to the manager's office. I was like, oh, I'm done. And she's like, well, the shift didn't even start, and I was like, I'm done. Like, I think this, you know, this is it. I'm out of here. And I remember she's like, you'll never work in the restaurant industry. You got to give your 2-week notice. I'm like, that's fine. I don't plan on coming back here. And that was the last legit job that I actually like worked on the books, like a real job. Like, you know what I mean? Never went back to, I guess, corporate America or whatever you want to call it. I'm not knocking it, but it just wasn't for me. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm not like.
But that's life, is like going and putting yourself out there and kind of going through the motions. Well, these guys get the bus boy, and then they're waiters or this or that, and you go and experience it, and you either say, hey, this is not bad, or you connect, or you're like, dude, that's nope, check. Done.
You have to have a passion. Unfortunately, you have to have a passion for a career, right?
Yeah.
And not everyone gets that lucky, right?
Well, Kauai is like, it's very unique. Everyone's passion is to live on Kauai.
Yeah.
That's their passion.
Yeah,
Like,
and
like
they'll
my
do
mom-
whatever.
Like my mom, her passion was to raise a child in the tropics. How she did that was just the way she made money. She never had a passion for her job. Does that make sense? Like, so like, and I kind of feel like that's how everyone I grew up around is like the bellman at the Hanalei Regis, like Malia Manuel's dad, Uncle Celso, is one of the best surfers you ever meet. That guy was a bellman for 30 years, and he's one of the best surfers you ever see. But it was like, that was the quality of people that were like this is my job and this is how I pay my bills. But like living on Kauai and living this, like we're on a permanent surf trip if you work it right, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it was, you know, and that's why, that's kind of what I meant by earlier in the story. It was like Dustin's mom Joey, like she was living her surf trip, you know what I mean? Like she was working in many jobs, but then she was surfing, and I kind of think my mom saw that and was like, whoa, like how's this lady just kind of like going for it, you know what I mean? Like is there a direction? No, but there's passion, and that's all that we need.
Well, you had a little bit of that, like as a young kid growing up around, like the dads went to work and you're hanging out with these surf moms that were essentially like, you know, I'm taking the kids to the beach. You know,
They were babysitters.
They're kind of the nanny situation. So, you know.
So that
kind of got that same
that lady
mindset.
with the 3 kids spawned.
No, so so she was kind of like, what?
I don't know. He's over here. I left him a beer.
There's one right here. Do you need one? You need one.
No, I'm good.
Because I'm gonna need this.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, you, Rosie.
Yeah.
We have more.
Okay,
Yeah.
so right there, freaking no, the advice the lady gave me though is that she's like, listen. She kind of foresaw too where Kauai was changing. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm sharing these stories, but it's not a fucking secret. People know the waves are good, and they know the surfers are good, and they know the lifestyle is amazing, and whatever. So like this woman though, she kind of like almost foresaw what was gonna happen. You know what I mean? So
Like more transplants.
Yeah, she was just like this place. Like eventually, the secret's gonna get out, and people are gonna catch.
Was she
on.
affluent? Like, you know, from wealth? Like the mom with the 3 kids that you were.
She came from nothing, worked her ass off. Like so, she was like a blue collar that eventually killed it. So she kind of was like, she's like, listen, like you're gonna. She was kind of like a mom I didn't ask for, I guess, because she was a much older lady and kind of like came to Kauai, kind of just like, I want to experience Kauai, and you need a job, and I'm gonna help you out, and it was cool, you know, because you know she was kind of, you want to come to California and do college, like I'll help you out, and I was like, It's like, I want to get barreled, you know what I mean? I want to go on surf trips. So we kind of created this thing where I got to like, I would just make sure that I was on Kauai when she was in town, and I would make enough money, and then I would go on surf trips, and then when she would come back to Kauai, I would just make sure that I was back. So, like,
wow.
Yeah. So then
She was like a sugar mama
yeah,
style client.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was like, asking if she was like from affluent, like money, you know, because it seemed like
She made her. Yeah, she had
her
money.
own for
she
sure.
had money.
Yeah. Like she bought a
You
house
know.
in Hanalei. Like she has money.
But
She-
yeah,
you know.
but that was like your gateway into like networking.
For sure, but what her advice was, which I'll never forget it, was that she goes, listen, like, she's like, you're gonna get in these scenarios where you're gonna meet new clients, you know, people that you'll work for or whatever, and you'll most likely not be the smartest person at the table. Most likely you'll be the dumbest person at the table or whatever. But that gives you an opportunity to be a sponge and just, you know, soak up and whatever. And like, I swear, like, my life, like, in my life, it's proven so right, is that, like, open your eyes and ears, not your mouth. You know what I mean? Like, just freaking, you come in and you listen and you know, because like right now, you guys are asking me my story, so I'm getting to tell you my story to you guys, right?
I love it.
But when I like for example, when I'm going to have meetings with people that I'm asking for like help in what I'm trying to do, doing this brand or whatever, it's like I catch myself all the time. It's like, whoa, are we being a sponge or, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, be the sponge. Like, you need to fucking listen here, you know?
Yeah.
So anyways, like, that's kind of how it went. Is like, I got kind of known as like this surfing nanny guy. Like, I was like, people were flying in, I'd be picking them up at the airport with the car that they rented. And I was like, because in my head, I was like, these people are coming to this island already. It's not like I'm fucking got a website going, come on over, you know?
You never
And
know.
all like that, I was like, taking them surfing in whitewash. They're not catching waves off of locals, you know what I mean? Like, there's a full mini economy here that could be tapped in where it's an equal exchange. Like, they get what they wanted, I get what I wanted, you know?
And they're contributing to the community with the money they're spending on restaurants.
Yeah, they're not eating at the hotel food. You're taking them to the local jam, and it's
Yeah.
No, like, I'm rolling
into-
I'm like rolling into the dolphin, and my buddy who's rolling the sushi's like, hey, beer's over here. This is
And we know what it's like rolling around the world, and especially our boy Rizal and Indo. And
Yeah.
you're just like, when you're with the locals, you
You're
feel
a king.
like, you're part of the like.
And that's
They're
the best. And
VIP.
that's the experience you want, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not trying. You want to visit anywhere you go from.
But it's just as
people.
it's you're doing it because it's part of your job, but it's also
Why
rewarding.
do we do that here?
It's also rewarding too, because like you're doing a solid for your local peeps, whether.
Well, the way I saw it too is because like you gotta remember is like I'm young and fucking full of testosterone. And I'm just fucking hungry. I'm taking waves, and and you're just kind of. Like we had our little clique going, but then like I kind of had to turn on Mr. Aloha and be nice and hey, how's it going, whatever. And my buddy, I remember like smoking a joint at my house one day. He's just like, already think about it. It's like you're teaching these people the rules of how to be in Hawaii. Because if you don't have them, then they're speeding in our parking lots. They're not tipping at the freaking restaurants. They're freaking talking back to because that's the one thing I noticed when I came here to not down here, but like in LA. Is people will just make any kind of like act however they want, and they don't care because they'll never see that person again, Whereas Kauai, like fucking,
you burn bridges.
You burn bridges.
You're
You've
done.
burned your whole.
Yeah, you're not coming back.
Yeah, so anyways, that was like what it was. I was like doing that, and then
That's kind of funny. We talk about that too with surf schools and
The etiquette.
here.
for
Like,
sure.
They don't teach that, and then it sucks because
no, and they get
they'll
let out
give
in the wild, and then they go
Yeah.
fuck up some lineups.
and like they're that first experience of surfing, and if somebody doesn't tell you, hey, this is a crowded spot, you should go to the less crowded spot.
Yeah.
Like they should be taking the new students, new surfers to uncrowded spots, and teach them that hey, there's a pecking order. Like there's a do's and don'ts of etiquette.
The unfortunate thing is that there's more of them than there is of us.
Yeah.
So then you're like outnumbered. It's like you paddle out to a lineup, and then you're like, oh, like what are you doing? And then you look around, and you're like, all of you, what are you doing? And then they're all kind of looking at you like, how's this
Yeah, you're
aggro?
the
Like, yeah, exactly.
so aggro.
Like, oh, you're like a short boarder? Like,
Yeah.
you're a short boarder, and you're just like, I don't know. It's like sometimes you put yourself in check. You're like, fuck, I guess I'm the kook. Like,
Yeah.
and then you're kind of, it's almost like they win, and you're like, I don't like that.
But if we talk about it enough and the surf schools listen to us, maybe they'll learn to teach their students, like, hey, you know what? You really should be surfing in less crowded areas. That way you don't hurt other people and other people don't.
And you catch more waves and you don't get piped.
Yeah.
It's like a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's a...
So you turn that into a business.
Yeah, so I ended up on it, and that was kind of like, so I break my leg, I kind of got that thing going, I kind of knew.
How was the rehab on that?
Like, no, it took 2 years, because the way that I had broken it, I got it screwed, and then when I got back to Hawaii, people were like, why is there a screw in your leg? You don't need a screw in your leg, and I'm just like, great. So then I had to wait for that to heal, get the screw out, then started rehab, and it took a long time. I was just like, holy shit, like it kind of set me back a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Even, I mean, it still kind of bothers me, but it's everyone has injuries, right? If you surfed at any level that's not on a wave storm, you for sure have some injuries.
Yeah,
so.
I can't even move.
So
Yeah, we're just all stiff.
before, when you were trying to make it or thinking about being pro, did you get shots in the mag?
I had like some shots or like some surfline stuff. I'm kind of like, okay, like this is, this is like Transworld's just about to close down. Like the gravy train has set.
Yeah,
it was gone already.
Yeah,
right. So I was like, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't even like a thing. I was like, okay, like.
Yeah, you weren't at this like place in the career where you're like,
yeah, it wasn't like
it wasn't drying up. You're still on the upward.
Exactly. I'm coming up and the thing's drying.
Yeah.
Out. So it was like
you're casting your net.
That's what I mean. I don't consider myself like. But I was giving it a run. I'm in the mix. I'm definitely, and then I definitely had like some like good, like reality checks. It's like I remember I broke my leg and then kind of got better and we were living at Sunset. We had like a little analog house. It was like me, Deja O'Connell, and Kauai and whatever. And we're like, and I just remember like I freaking went over there and Reef called me and he's like, hey, off the wall looks like it's turning on. You should come down. I was like, okay, fuck, get in my car. I'm driving down there and there was like some traffic, like some accident had happened like right before the elementary school. And he called me back and he's like, you might as well pack it up and go the fuck home. And I'm just like, what? And he had just caught the wave of the winter. And I was just like, fuck. Like pretty much like, you want to fucking come over here and you want to surf, what the fuck you doing sitting at Sunset? You should be sitting on the freaking,
beach, just
waiting. Beach Park, sitting there waiting, and I realized I was like, I'll give it a go on any wave, but I'm not, that's not my gig, I don't like sitting around, I'm really bad in crowds, like, you know what I mean? Just, it was like he was right, it was like, fuck, like I get it, like, you know what I mean? Like, guys that surf pipeline, like, they're good surfers for sure. They're some of the best surfers on the planet, but they're also the best people at dealing with under pressure and talking. And you think about pipeline, you're sitting in a crowd of 50 people and you're bumping shoulders and all you're doing is like, you're kind of keeping track of who got set waves, who didn't get set waves, who's from fucking Japan, who's from Brazil, who's the locals. Oh shit, Uncle D's going. Okay, so like, you know what I mean? You're just constantly, keeping ledgers. And then all of a sudden you go to whip and freaking, Jamie's hooting you off or something. You're just like, shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, you do your head in, and it's like, so I was like, okay, this isn't really my thing either, Yeah. So I kind of was like, okay. So, anyways, I went back and I just kind of like was traveling a bunch, and then I started dating this girl in Tahiti, and I just was like, kind of fell in love with surfing chokes and got to tow it really big, and was there when like Corey Hoffman got his crazy cover, you know what I mean? Like that crazy run of thing. It was just like, holy shit, this is amazing, So then and at that time, I had met this girl. I had just broken my leg. I met this girl, and pretty much it was kind of like my life was at a crossroads a little bit. It's like the surf lesson thing wasn't happening because my leg's broken. My mom wasn't doing too good, so I'm kind of like helping out with bills, and kind of I have a younger brother who's 10 years younger than me. He's like kind of living with me, and I'm kind of helping him out. And he's in high school, he's 9th grade, so it was just like a real like stressful time of like
time to step up, be a man.
Exactly, kind of like. Yeah, that surf thing was cool, but like you got real shit going on. You gotta fucking like take care of what's going on.
Yeah, you can't be the selfish kid that we all are.
Yeah,
I mean, you got like responsibilities.
You're what? You're 22 now?
Yeah, no, I'm 24. So I just I was still riding for analog. Had my broken leg. Just had kind of got this surf school thing going, or like my little thing, and then I'm kind of in a boot. I'm in a boot. I know we're jumping all around, but that's kind of the issue. Yeah. So then I had met this girl in the meantime, and freaking she lived in Tahiti and I lived in Hawaii, and I was just like, okay, like how does this gonna work, you know? So I fucking rehab up my leg, and I fucking raised my leg, or kind of helped my brother for a year, and kind of I just manned up. I was like, all right, surfing's on the back burner. I'm just gonna kind of take care of my scenario here. And I was able to at least do lessons. I couldn't really shortboard, but I could do lessons. And then I freaking went down to Tahiti, and freaking I was like, okay, I'm gonna surf chopes. Fucking end up twisting my ankle. I peel all the tendons on the other leg. I freaking came out of the barrel and freaking went to kick out. You know, it chopes closes out. It wasn't even like it was like a 6 foot day, nothing too crazy. I kick out the back way, I land on the top of the right, and it sucked over. And when I got sucked over, my foot hit the bottom, and it just like, my foot went behind me really quickly, like wham. So all of a sudden I thought I broke my leg at first, like my tibia or whatever, fibula right there. I ended up just peeling the tendons. So then I was like, whew.
Heavy boys sink quick.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I fall, I'm hitting the bottom for sure. Like wave pool, people are like, oh, like Waco's got a hard bottom, but you won't hit. I'm fucking smacking that thing. Like
concrete.
It's like skateboarding every time I surf Waco. I'm just getting smoked. But anyways, not long story short, I freaking
So what?
I meet this girl, and I'm laying on her couch, and I got my twisted ankle. I've just recovered from a broken leg. I'm like, you know, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, you're not gonna be a pro surfer. What are you doing with these analog stickers? You know what I mean? Like, Hanalei's like, fuck that. Like, you know, like kind of trying to sell me the dream, and I'm like,
you can still do it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just like, I need to figure out what I'm gonna do, because I want to keep doing this. I definitely want to be here for these swells, but I need to make some money. So I had $800 to my name, and I remember I was sitting on my chick's couch, and my chick's dad was a surfer. He was a white guy from Oahu, actually, like a Haole guy, but moved to Tahiti in the '80s and moved there for surf. And he just read me like a book, like, oh, scrub surfer, just trying to fucking live the dream, you know. So he was like, listen, we have a pearl farm. We sell Tahitian black pearls. Like, fucking, how about I front you these pearls, and you figure out a way to sell them.
Wow. And
freaking, you know, and then we'll get this going, you know.
Good money.
Yeah. Well, just like that's what I thought. I was like, oh, pearls. You're thinking, fuck, it's on. I'm gonna be rich. You know what I mean? Like, oh, look at the Tahitian black pearls.
He's giving you like the
surf
C
all
grade,
day.
D grade.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So anyways, I get these pearls, you know, and it was like $7,000 worth of pearls. He like fronted me. He goes, okay, if you don't bring back these pearls, you got to pay me the money, you know, or vice versa. Just like figure out how to sell them. Give me this money back.
And does he tell you what?
Yeah, it educates me the whole thing. Yeah. Fuck, I go up to the pearl farm. Her pearl farm was up in Apataki, and freaking there was a wave there, and freaking everything was pretty sick. I was like, wow, this is sick. I'm getting this full. It was like National Geographic type shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're gonna be living.
Yeah.
In Tahiti, selling
I'm
pearls
living on the beach.
In Oahu.
There's a wave. No, yeah, there's a wave out in front. And I'm like, oh, it's on. I got my hustle. Like every surfer kind of had a hustle, you know what I mean? And like back to that Kobe advice is like,
and there's no competition. And you're like, for this is like, I don't have to like
be a drug dealer.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah,
those three options, I was like, okay, I found mine. I had the fourth option, no one saw. I was entrepreneur. You can do that. So I'm like, all right. So I freaking come back to Kauai, and I got these pearls. And I actually remember I called my buddy, whose dad's like the biggest jeweler on the island. I'm like, hey man, I got these pearls. Like, and he's like, my chick, you know, I'm just selling him the dream. Like, I got the pearls and my chick, come on. And this is like 2010. So freaking Instagram's not really a thing yet. You know, Facebook's kind of the only thing, whatever. And I remember I just fucking show him the things. And he goes, how much do you love the chick? And I'm just like, what do you mean? He goes, pearls are worth shit. And then like he knew. He was like, they're sellable, but they're not like get rich sellable. He's like, he's all, how many surfers have come from Tahiti with pearls and they're gonna be rich? Like, you're not the first guy to roll in here with that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So he goes, listen, you gotta look at the pearls like drugs. The more we cut it up, the more money we make. You know? He's like, so right now, if you can sell the whole lot to me, you don't make any money. You just pay your dad back, your father-in-law the money.
It's like wholesale.
Exactly.
You gotta break it down to like more retail level.
He's all, but the more we break it up, the more money we're gonna make. So he's all, you need to start making pairs and figure out how to make stud earrings. Or, oh, look at my fingers. All of a sudden, I'm making jewelry with these freaking Shrek hands. I'm like, all right, like I'm YouTubing how to fucking glue earrings. And,
wow.
Because I'm just like, I'm all, hey, if I sell a pair of earrings at $150 and I pay back the dad $20 or whatever, it was like my margins were sick. So I was like, the margins there.
So you became
I'm
a jeweler.
Yeah, I'm like smuggling pearls. So like, and that was the thing too. Is like, okay, so the pearls I had a lot of 3,000 pieces is what I had, and the tax from Tahiti, the duty is 50 francs a pearl. So that meant that I owed 50 cents or 50 francs, which is 50 cents. So the tax was $1,500 is what I owed on. Mine, they said I had $800 when I broke my leg, right? So I get to the airport, I see this whole thing, and I just fucking 7,000 pearls. It fits in like my hand. It's like very small, right? Just shove that thing down my pants, put it like in my boxers.
The pearls onto the plane.
Fucking smuggle them.
Sweating.
Yeah, I'm just
sweating.
Yeah, just like I'm just like, this is how we're doing it. I said, you know, whatever. So anyways, fucking, you know, do the deal, whatever, and then it just kind of progresses. Like, basically, I didn't make any money. I made enough money to buy my chick a ticket, and I was like, okay, let's think about it. If I call you and I go, hey, Chalky, how's it going? Or hey, how's it going, Mister? Like my name's Teva. I'm selling pearls from my girlfriend's farm that I just brought her. It just sounds too many details, right?
Yeah.
My chick had a beautiful French accent, so I was like,
You're the frontman.
you move here, you're gonna move to Hawaii, and we're gonna call people, and as soon as they hear that French accent, they're gonna be, I'm in Tahiti. Is this a Tahitian that's called? You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna feel authentic. You know what I mean? Like,
not a local boy just got back from a surf trip.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I felt too hustly, and I needed to feel high end.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
And like
Smart.
My best friend at home, he who's like,
how many times did you smuggle over?
Multiple? For like 5 years. Yeah, every 3 months. Oh, no. It got to a point where I would take the low grade ones and I would sprinkle them in my board bag, because if you saw the board bag through the x-ray, you would just see pebbles, so you couldn't figure out what it was. But if you had them all together in one thing, you'd be like, what is that? And open up your deck. So, Brian, you know how many times I would sprinkle, like, I'm talking like, we have like 50K worth of pearls, and you have to figure out how to get it in, you know, because 50K worth of pearls could make you $100,000, you know, if you chopped it up right, do it. So there's like a rule, there's a loophole that if the pearls were in jewelry, then you don't have to pay a duty on it, because you could say that it's like a family heirloom, whatever. So I'd fucking sit there, and this is at the time when girls were wearing those like gold bangles with the pearl on them. It was kind of like a little fad in Hawaii. Yeah. But so I would drill them all, bam, drill, you know, a couple thousand pearls, and then I would just make strings of necklaces of pearl. So like, I remember going down to Tahiti to go for swells and shit, you know, whatever.
You're coming back. We just got blessed. Grandpa's like,
but I'd run into guys at the airport. So I remember I'd see like John and Koa and Eli, their little rat pack. They're like coming down for a trip. So I'm like at the airport. I look like a freaking mahu. You know what I mean? I'm just like covered in pearls, and I'm pretending I don't see those guys. Like oh, I'm going home to Kauai. Like, I'm just thinking like, I just need to fucking get this money so I can keep going back to where they're going. I want to go to Chopes and surf and all that. Like I remember I freaking watched Nate Florence paddle that psycho wave and whatever that was, 2015 or whatever, that nuts wave. And then like that evening, like driving to like surf that session, and then like driving to Papeete to like try to meet some sketchy dude that had these pearls from like his parents' farm that he was like having a family feud with, and he's like, hey man, I saw these pearls are nothing. I'm there with cash. Like, okay, fucking, let's make it happen, you know?
So you did this for how long?
I did this for 6 years. And we had like a little hustle, but so then
you mastered the craft?
So I bring the pearls, get them to Hawaii, and then Instagram was blowing up, and a buddy's sister was like, you don't have an Instagram? You should Instagram that you sell pearls, and then people will like share the photo or whatever, you know? And then it went to the next level, is I would pretend that I was my chick and say, hey, my name's, you know, whatever. I would DM girls and be like, hey, I'm selling pearls, blah, blah, blah. And then every girl at that time was trying to be a mermaid, a bikini designer, or a jewelry designer. Do you remember?
It's still
yeah, exactly. Like so like if you're like, hey, I'm a Tahitian wholesaler that's selling pearls at this crazy rate. Like, we were selling pearls for like very good price. So I would just, you know, collect all these girls. So like Oahu, I'd have like, you know, 20, 30 girls. Maui, I'd have like another, and then whatever. And then I would just like, okay, like we'd go to Oahu, I get to like try to surf pipeline, and you know, like the sticker's gone. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to surf pipe because I want to go surf, right? So we'd go over there, and then we'd be like driving to Kailua to go to some Starbucks to go meet these like Filipino chicks that make freaking jewelry or whatever. Like, you know, I was just like, let's get this hustle going. And then like go to Maui and like, okay, hey, it looks like Honolulu is good. We like surf Honolulu. She surfed too, right? So we're like, surf Honolulu. And then I go like sell pearls in the afternoon, and we were just
You mix business with pleasure.
exactly. And then I just the piece of shit surfer I am. I just you ever been to Indonesia? You should come in. So I was like, we're going to Bali. So we went to Bali, and I remember we took the money. So you gotta remember is that her dad. I don't owe him money in U.S. I owe him in franc, and the francs it's 80 to 100. So like on every $100 US dollar I'm paying you back, I lose $20. So the rate's horrible. So I really got to sell these pearls at a good rate, right? Well, I fucking go to Bali and I'm seeing guys, you know what I mean? Like, Colin Chapman has this amazing friend named Toby who him and his wife started this crazy freaking sarong dress, beach boutique kind of line, whatever. And I love those guys and spent time. So I kind of knew, I was like, it's time for me to start my little beach boutique girl freaking flowy dress line, So I was just like, all right. So we'd go with my chick and we would take dresses that she thought were cool or fun and then go to Bali, find some mama-san to sew them up. And then I would pay them or I would take the dollars. So I'd sell the pearls and I'd have the US dollar. And then I'd go to Bali, and Bali, you're getting 1.6 million rupiah for every $100. So you're kind of making money, you know what I mean? So I'd get the rupiah, we'd get the dresses made or whatever, and then I would take the dresses. So this is like Lindy and those guys are just murdering Acacia bikini trunk show, right? They were in stores, but the trunk show was like this crazy thing, right? Like, if you get invited to trunk show, So
At hotels or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Or just at people's houses, they would do like these really cool they killed it. Like Acacia at the beginning, they did okay in the stores, but they would have these sample sales where like a $300 suit is now only $100, but then it only costs them $20 to make.
They still make,
you know. So, anyways, it's like Tahiti, just in general, it's always like 30 years behind anywhere. So I was like, well, the trunk show hasn't hit Tahiti yet. People don't even have Instagram because they don't even have Wi-Fi. Like, there's no LTE in Tahiti. You know what I mean? You're not.
But was there enough business?
Yes, because
There's enough
Tahiti's
people,
like kind of a weird
word of
middle.
mouth.
Yeah, it's like Tahiti's like a weird middle ground. So it's like, or middle world we call it. It's like they're not third world because they're land rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then people have a lot of money, but they don't really work because there's not really jobs. It's like an economy that's not really stimulated, but there's money.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like kind of get it. But anyways, like my chick was kind of like a cool girl and knew a lot of cool people. So then like Michelle Alvarez's wife, Vaniti, she would come and come to our trunk shows, and she was kind of like, so then it was like watching the internet create business for the first time. So weird, because I'd seen it in America. It's not like I was inventing something. I was just copying what I saw somewhere else. I was like, oh, surfers go to Bali and they buy sarongs and bring them back and sell them. Like fucking Kauai's full of those guys. They're like all the guys that ruled Hanalei when I was a kid. They would smuggle heroin in sarongs to Hawaii, and then they would sell the heroin and sell the sarongs, and then they would keep going surfing. So like those guys, I would just kind of where's the best spot to get these? Like, do you have someone in your booth can make this fabric? I was just like kind of trying to piece shit together, and I'm also like, okay, I'm selling pearls in Tahiti, and then I get to like surf a swell at Chopes everyone randomly, and then I'm like, oh, I get to go.
Yeah, just sorry to interrupt, but this is a common story.
Oh, it's
amongst like
surfers,
and sorry to interject, but like we had a buddy that we interviewed, Jim. And he did Hawaiian shirts, and he went over to Europe and England, and he was selling, he created a crazy business by just buying used thrift Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah.
And I mean, we know people here that did Levi's, and they do the same thing. You find that trade that's worthwhile somewhere else.
And what's funny is all your life, you knew what was happening with the older surfers that were doing it.
They were exactly.
Right?
I'm
you're like,
not only are they
shit.
telling me where to sit in the lineup, but they're also like how to fucking live your life so you're in the lineup. Does that make sense? So and that's kind of what I was trying to get at too earlier with the whole story. It's like to me the parking lot was like the institution. Like that's where you learned everything. You know what I mean? Like
from the good, bad, and ugly. Hey, like
because people are
having
exactly. No. Like I learned okay, if you freaking go down that route, you're gonna end up doing Oxycontins or whatever. Like, oh, you do this route, you're gonna end up freaking working a dead end job and never be happy. So it's like I always saw things and was able to kind of like pick something from here and pick something.
But
from there.
it's your love for barrel riding and getting you to these other places and keeping it like.
Well, I think
I love that. It's these guys that you grew up watching surf and respecting in the surf, and you never paid attention to what they did for work, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, how the fuck did these guys still surf?
Well, I just see them at the
And
beach
they
every
rip,
day.
and they're like, they're always here, you know, and
That's
they're
what we
living
want.
on Kauai. And then when you stop and think, like, you probably, like you said, in those parking lots, you know, all those years you weren't paying attention, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, that's what they were talking about.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah,
you're
or
like,
you hit a crossroad and you're like, why does this sound familiar? And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is what freaking.
this is what they've been
This is what
doing.
Juke was like. It was just like old school dogs. You're like, oh, that's what that guy was talking about. You
Yeah.
know, so.
I mean, you gotta, you know, we talk about it all the time. Like, how do we stay at the beach and then
Yeah.
line up? You know,
Yeah.
what is it going to take?
Yeah.
Providing for yourself and your family and your kids and having a good life and set them up. It's like,
So
We
that was
deserve
your
Ultimately, too, like I know you because I said it before camera. Is like the ocean's what keeps you young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why you look the way you are. Is because you're at the beach constantly, just like doing your thing. You know,
got my
that's.
vitamin D, you know, doing my yoga,
Yeah.
stretching it out.
But just like for me, is like I grew up like drugs were a really big part of our freaking
All of us.
culture and
Yeah.
so it was like to me it was like like when you wouldn't see guys for a while, you're like, oh man, like so and so's on meth or on ice.
Oh.
You know, like I'd see some of the guys that I'd like looked up to my whole life, and then like gotta be tweaking, you know, like working on cars on the side of the road, all sketchy. And you're just like, fuck, like.
what
You know, so I kind of was like, okay, like I see all the routes, you know what I mean? I didn't come from money, so I didn't really have that route to go, and then, but I also knew like, freak, I'm not gonna go down this shitty route, you know what I mean? I need to make something for myself and not really have anyone else to do that except for me. So so that's kind of where and then like that Indo thing was like, I'm doing dresses, and then that was kind of the coolest thing, is then I'm getting to spend time around guys like Ty Buddha and
So were you
Mikala
doing
and-
both things? The
Yeah, so
black
I'm
pearls
buying.
and-
I'm taking the pearls on layaway, basically, right, or whatever. I'm gonna pay that back.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the pearls, and then I sell those, and I get the U.S. cash. Then I take the cash and I go to Bali and trade the money, and I get this cool exchange rate. You know, like, okay, cool. So we'd always like play this joke. Okay, if the rate is 1.2, then we don't get to go to the mentalized. But if the rate's 1.6, then we get to go to the mentalized. You know, like we trade
Bonus.
like 20, 30 grand in U.S. cash to pay for this next.
You need to make
shit.
sure the bills are crispy.
Exactly.
Make sure no
Only
wrinkles,
blue
no
nose.
wrinkles, crispy, no
folded.
folds.
Yeah.
Gotta be crispy.
And then only go to the BCAs, and then, you know the deal. Like, don't go to money changers, only go to the banks. And
Oh,
yeah, I had really
gnarly.
cool mentors that helped us in that. But then I would get the dresses, and then I would take those to Tahiti, and then when we'd
Which
sell, so then we'd
pricey.
sell, exactly. So like I had so many funny stories. Like, so you gotta pay tax on all this shit, right? Like you gotta pay import tax at some point. You're running like a kind of a business. Well, I wasn't. And I look back, and it's like, fuck, like maybe I could have built credit and maybe had a house by now or something. I don't know, whatever. Like we were just like hustling, but like taking into consideration.
I don't want to go too big, but I want to stay under the radar.
Kauai, I'm living in a freaking 40-foot container on a buddy's farm that had an outhouse with a 5-gallon bucket for the bathroom, and we were paying $200 to live in this container. And my chick was just like, "You're out of your fucking mind." And I just kind of had this theory. I was like, "Hey, if we work really hard and we make money, then every 3 weeks we'll go on a trip somewhere, and then we'll be in Bali in a villa."
Yeah.
Kind of, you know what I mean? Like
This
and
container's
then this container will be worth it because we're on Kauai, and that's
Yeah.
pretty sick too. You know, we can surf Hanalei. Like, because I'm doing we go back to Kauai, and her life wasn't that bad. Like I'm doing lessons for people like that lady and just whatever, and she's like learning how to surf in Hanalei. She's like, "Oh, this is rad," you know, like things were really cool, you know.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of paying. So I'm doing the thing, selling the dresses in Tahiti, and then we would pay her dad back in francs. So it's like we owed in francs from the beginning. So we got US dollar, then got Indonesia rupiah, and then took the rupiah, bought the clothes, and then changed that back into francs.
Yeah.
So then we were able to pay him back that.
And what's crazy is you take the pearls, make it in the U.S., but it's less.
Yes, exactly. No,
Less-
that's the thing. Is like that's why I think back to the beginning of the story is that like her dad was a surfer, so he kind of knew like he's like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
He was like he gave me one of the greatest gifts. You know, like that would have never been possible had he not freaking kind of saw what we were doing. Plus, it was like, freaking, I'm taking your daughter around the world. Like I got to go like see Europe for the first time and road trip around, and like it was like I was never home. I was always on the road, and if I wasn't, I was getting to sit in Tahiti and cruise around.
That's
it was
incredible.
It was a sick time.
So how long did you create a brand, or did you just like?
She had a brand. We sold the clothes under, or the pearls under a name. It was her name, Kauai Pearls, and then we had a clothing brand. The brand was called Pineapple Culture. Like pineapple was like Mo'odea is considered the pineapple island of Tahiti, of French Polynesia, and then Hawaii's always been called like the pineapple state. So I kind of was like, oh, like kind of the melting of two worlds, you know, like Pineapple Culture. And it was more just like a very like vanilla name. It was more just about like, let's just sell these fucking dresses.
Yeah.
It wasn't like she was trying to be a designer and I wasn't trying to be some freaking mogul. It was more just like, we need to wash this money so we can pay back for all these waves that we got to catch, you know? Does that make sense? Like, like it was like, I wasn't, so like, just to give you the one funny story is like, we get to Tahiti, I remember, and freaking, it was that crazy toe swell when you know, Kauai got that wave or whatever. And I remember we're at the airport, and it's just every big wave surfer on the planet's on the flight. It's like Dorian, Laird, Dave Wassel, Reef, freaking Kalani Chapman, just like, holy shit, this is like, it was one of the crazy, like to this day, like I've been on like whatever you call these strike swells, and like that swell was fucked up. Like you're at Honolulu airport and you're like, oh my god, like everybody and their mom's going to this swell. I remember just thinking like,
The giant board bags.
just whatever. And I just remember like me and my chick are coming, we had just been in Lake Peak for like 2 weeks, you know, surfing, and then I went to Bali, picked up the dresses and flew straight to Honolulu. So we're kind of like, okay, here we go. And we had our 3 coffins, and there's no boards in them. It's just dresses. So I had freaking just stuffed it with as many women's clothing that we were gonna sell. So everyone's like grabbing their boards to go surf tropes, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll see you guys in a few days. We gotta get, you know. But I just remember we're at the customs, and everyone's getting through, and we're like, frick, what do we do? Like maybe this is the time they're gonna open this board bag. Like there's so many surfers, because like Tahiti is like one of the strictest customs now, because they don't want people like, for example, Tahitians will come to America, they'll buy a computer, put a bunch of stickers on it, and then say, oh no, this is mine, because if not, you have to pay a 50% import tax.
Damn.
It's like almost buying something twice.
Yeah.
It's like, you know. So she was like, frick, like, you know, they're gonna open this board bag. Somehow by the grace of God, we're all finished up, or everyone's kind of going through, and I'm like, oh, and then like we're like the last 2 board bags or 3 board bags come through, and someone Raymana like comes out and like, he has no clue what I'm doing, nothing, right? He just goes, hey, what's up, brother? You need help with these board bags? And he's friends with all the customs guys. So the customs guy goes, Mana, come, bring your friend. Bro, we get escorted through customs with all our clothes. And like, I just remember like, we got on the sidewalk and we were just like, yes, like,
what a feeling.
We fucking made it, you know, like, I think that might have been one of the last big, you know, like, we like, never do that again. That was like our whole summer's fun.
That's your whole profit right there.
And that's what I mean, like, I'm not trying to like condone this activity or behavior, you know what I mean? Like, because my little brother too, he's always like,
but it's part of your story, and that's
exactly.
We appreciate you sharing it,
because
because
this is incredible.
No, just whatever. It's everyone was doing what they had to do to go surfing. I kind of knew like I wasn't going on anybody's dollar but my own, and freaking I'm just gonna. But I wanted to surf the same waves as everybody, and.
What's heavy is you weren't selling drugs. You were selling pearls and freaking
strongs and dresses.
Yeah.
Dresses.
Well, that's what I said. I was like, no, I'm hurting anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like I feel like selling drugs. That's a shitty thing.
That's a shitty thing.
I wasn't like bringing meth to Tahiti.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm bringing dresses to make your girls look good, so you guys can take them out. Like you're gonna be pumped.
That's an honest living.
Yeah, exactly. Like
yeah.
So anyways, that kind of came to an end, and me and the girl kind of broke up, and I had my I always had my surf thing going, the surf coaching, and then I guess we'll kind of just get to where the brand is. So basically, during that Tahiti time, and that whole like me trying to be on the North Shore or whatever, is like this guy, our friend was who is now in jail for a long time for selling drugs. He freaking he's the one that named me Blak Bear. So I was like on an analog trip, and I remember we scored Teme, which is like the beautiful right-hander that's on Mo'odea, and it's pretty much all over the internet now, so it's not a secret. But we went there, and it was like a Bud Light trip. Like Benji and Freddie P and those guys were doing this trip, and I remember Hanalei is just so wild and crazy. He's like, we were doing like a surf school at home, like kind of teaching little kids how to surf, and kind of we're working all summer raising money, and he was like, he's all, bro, I heard they're going to the Bud Light trip down to Tahiti. We should go because then there's gonna be photographers and then we can get our photo taken. You know, and that's our job because we're. And I'm like, well, that's your job. You know what I mean? I was kind of like, okay, like let's go. You know, like whatever. So we're all fired up. We go to Tahiti. We freaking score. We get like really fun chokes, and then we score like Teva as good as it gets. Even to this day, one of the best swells like ever. And somehow Freddie P and those guys had never even like heard of the wave or whatever. They were tripping. We're all like, holy shit, it's firing. It was like, you know, pumping like 8 foot, like kind of maxing for that wave. And I should remember freaking the night before I snore super loud, like really loud. It's kind of what I'm known for. It's like this crazy snore. And my buddy who we're staying at his house, I'm like snoring super freaking loud. And it's like really stupid, but he had this story of him because he has a baby with Marlon Brando's granddaughter. That's kind of where the story comes back. And Marlon Brando and Michael Jackson were somehow best friends, right? In the
Michael Jackson?
Yeah, like
Beat It Michael Jackson?
Beat It Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Billie Jean. So if you're kidding, somehow this guy, our buddy, Tama, he's
dating.
No, yeah, he's with Marlon Brando's granddaughter, and freaking has a kid with her and all this. He's just a wild dude and kind of just like, it's not a, you gotta watch your back. He's nuts, whatever.
Yeah.
But he somehow was Kauai's cousin, so Kauai's like, fucking, he's the man. He's gonna show us around, whatever. So we're kind of with this wild man all over TV, and then he goes into this crazy story where he like ended up at Michael Jackson's house and freaking he saw a black bear and just like it was like the stupidest like kind of whatever story.
Well, yeah, he had a full zoo at his like Santa Barbara.
But if you met our friend, he was like a barefoot drug dealer from Tahiti. So it was like so Benji's like listening to him tell the stories like there's no fucking way this guy was at Michael Jackson's ranch. Like it was just like so like bizarre concept, whatever, right? Well, anyways, I'm like
truth is strangers in fiction.
Yeah, so I'm like sleeping and then freaking
snoring.
Yeah, I'm like snoring like crazy, and I wake up and he's like this close to my face, and he's like he'd probably been up all night, God doing devil's work or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, you sleep like beautiful black bear. Like he said in this like Michael Jackson tone, and some of the whole house is there, and they're all like, losing it. They're like, wow.
That's where it's stuck.
Yeah. So then that night, you know, freaking Sonny Miller was somehow the filmer on the trip.
Wow,
so rad, right? And so he's filming and like you know, I guess looking back, it was like fuck man, like you're out at one of the best waves in the world, and it was kind of too big, so everyone's kind of washed out around. I just remember it was like me, Hanalei, and Benji, and I just remember like this is fucking amazing, bro. Like we're surfing world class waves with one of my favorite surfers. Like this is insane. And then I ended up getting like one of like, you know, whatever, really amazing killer ride. And freaking, you know, Sonny Miller was like, who the hell was that on that wave? And then freaking, everyone's like, that's the Blak Bear. And then fucking, and then it stuck. And then, you know, then all of a sudden that winter I went to the North Shore and I remember I fucking kind of got a wave at Pipe or whatever. And I remember walking to the beach and freaking Marcus Hickman was like, not bad, Blak Bear. And I was like, I guess that's it. I guess that's my name. Like,
yeah.
You know, it was like, and then like it kind of, then like Makua and like everything just kind of stuck. I was kind of like, well, fuck, that ain't that bad of a nickname. I've heard worse. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So like that kind of stuck. And then, so then whatever, I'm kind of running that. I had an Instagram and whatever. And then when I started doing the coaching thing, like, I don't want to sound too kooky, but it was just like, everyone had their surf schools and everyone was like, you know, like everyone thought of like a surf instructor, like so people would be like, oh, what do you do for a job? And I'd be like, oh, I do surf lessons. And like I could just see people's face, like they didn't really take you seriously, you know. They're like, oh, well that's cool, you know. And they're thinking like thinking like Joe Schmo down at the pier with like zinc on his nose and a bunch of soft tops. And I'm thinking like, oh, it's kind of like private jets and wave pools and like it's like way cooler thing, you know. But you don't want to say that because then you sound like a douchebag, you know. Like I sound like a douchebag saying that right now. So I was like, how are we gonna get taken seriously, bro? Because like I'm making more money now than I've ever did busting tables and doing everything, you know. And I was kind of like, frick. So then I had always drawn the teeth on my boards since like, you know, I wrote an analog 2010, 29, so I'd always like drawn the teeth because like in the 80s everyone had a spray job that was kind of their thing, right? Like freaking.
So you just did a big oversized.
Yes, I was like, oh, these big jaws, like freaking did these big teeth, and then I kind of made different renditions, and then eventually I just kind of stuck like 10 teeth on the board, like that's my thing, like, you know. And then at home, everyone kind of knew, like they do, you know, like, oh, the fangs are out, like, you know, Blak Bear, whatever, and it kind of stuck, you know. And I was like, okay, cool, that's like my thing. And then but I was so focused on the pearls and the dresses because that was kind of paying the bills. And then it's kind of what happened when me and the chick kind of broke up. She was just like we had a great run, but we kind of realized is like I didn't want to live in TD full time. I wasn't ready to have a kid. I wasn't ready to get married. I still kind of was like, fuck, we're gonna chase this around the world dream. And she was kind of like, I want a kid, you know, whatever. And I was kind of like, okay. So it kind of fell apart. And then she was like, hey, whatever happens though, like that teeth, like you gotta do something. Like that's your passion. Like I told you in the story, it's like when I was 15, I kind of always saw myself as like, I want to build a brand, and I want like it always like, it wasn't like I want to build a brand and I want to make money. It was like, I was like, fuck, how can I like do something that like all my friends can be a part of, or people that I really like want to be with or hang with, so that we can like keep doing what we're doing and surfing, and you know, and obviously that it's changed a lot, and the people in my life have changed, but I think the purpose has always been the same. Is like even with my lessons is like, I remember Tyler Newton, you know, he's like always been kind of the grom and ripping and winning the shootout, and like fucking, we've always just been, everyone on Kauai, like everyone will say what they want about each other, but at the end of the day, like we're all brothers. Like everyone fucking backs each other 100%. Like you grew up with us, you know, everyone kind of gravitates and gives good energy to that person. So I remember kind of like, I was like, fuck dude, like you should do lessons. Like I know it sounds kooky, but like
Too tired.
Yeah, I was like, but you have a sticker on the front of your board that kind of makes it sound like you're legit, you're a pro surfer, you know what I mean? Like at the time, Richie at Volcom was like sponsoring me because I was like, sick, I'm ready for Volcom, but I'm giving lessons. Like it sounds real kooky, but it was like,
but it does give you like
pull this off.
Like
so
what you said, like legitimacy in some sort of way.
because like people, they're not gonna take advice from you unless they like believe it.
I want to get surf lessons or surf coaching or whatever from this guy or the pro surfer.
Yeah.
You know, which comes down to the sticker and the vibe and who you're associated with, and it's like, dude, I want to go fucking badass over here.
Yeah.
You know, not the guy that just says, you know, like
I can stand up.
Yeah.
I can teach you how to stand
Well,
up.
like a good example is like a close friend of mine is the kid Andrew Jacobson that rides for Whistler, right? And he's kind of the only pro surfer in LA County, kind of like from Malibu-ish area. You know, Perillo's like doing what we're doing surf coaching, whatever. And I kind of was telling him the other night, I was like, bro, you gotta keep that sticker on as long as you can, like, because if you think about it too, like for the brand, you're an ambassador of surfing. Like you're fucking teaching people legitimately how to surf, telling them what gear to buy. Like it sounds so kooky, but it's kind of the voice of surfing. And then you go around California and you realize how many great surfers are doing it. Like fucking Yaden, bro. Like me and him were joking around. Like he's like, oh, dude, you got back surgery. Like it's all those pushes. You know what I mean? Like it's just like there's guys that are like a part of the tribe, and you don't even realize it. Everyone's
Sam Hammer has a
but he's been doing. He's an OG at that.
Yeah.
He's the man. He's the guy. Those are the boys.
and Fridas.
Yeah. Those are great surfers who were like,
but they found their like
Exactly.
niche.
Honestly though, like it's another entrepreneurial adventure.
for
You know?
sure. No, it's
Like-
another of just like, I gotta do what I gotta do
Yeah.
so that I can keep surfing. You know what I mean?
And I love it because surfing has matured and become popular, and it gives, that's kind of a newer option what you do, right?
For sure. It wasn't a job a few years ago.
Not really,
And
but-
it wasn't even a demand.
It was like a side hustle to like I could keep me maybe get to my next surf trip, to now it's like, dude, a fucking legitimate business.
Bro,
Yeah,
guys
so
like
what-
Wingnut are making 6 figures,
Oh.
fully cruising like that guy, and he provides a great service and
Yeah.
does this trip. Like look at like
Yeah.
there's
We're
like-
gonna go golf. We're gonna go on a fishing fishing day, and then we're gonna go surf cruiser killer waves.
It's a surfer experience.
Yeah.
They're not paying for the put. Like Laird told me the other day. He's like, so it's funny how your friends, they think that they people pay you for you to touch their tail. It's all the things that led up to that moment. You're like, fuck, I get you, you know. It sounds kooky, but it is like that's
Yeah, it's not kooky, man. I think to capitalize on your experience, right, and the love of surfing, and you're making money from it, making a living from it. That's an American dream too.
But,
you know,
you know-
like, that's your passion, right? And it comes second nature to you, but your experience and them learning from you, that's
Well, we talk about like,
it's so easy, but then so like not everybody can do it. You know what I mean?
but we talk about how like your best wave, like what if you could have a best wave right now? Yeah, it's a fucking 10-foot bomb at choke, you know, like to get that like endorphin, that psych, and be like, dude, you're kicking out of that, you're killed. Like the people you're teaching or other surf coaches,
Best wave,
like
what happened today?
yeah, they get, you know,
And sometimes I get really jealous. I'm like, these people can tap in
they're getting
pretty easily. You can help them.
You see that like glow and that high after them going straight on a little wave, and that's the power of surfing. And you get to give that.
Yeah,
back.
that's what I mean. It sounds cliche, but it's
true.
Like in Hawaii, we call it like a mana exchange, right? It's like you're purely exchanging power for power with something like, I don't know.
But everybody's perception is different.
Yeah.
You know, like your experience and where you're at and what you've seen in your life, and it's like me and him. Like, you know what, waves were so fun and killed it, and it's like I look at the cam and I'm like, what? Huh? And he's so psyched. I'm like, I need something a lot better to get this fucking psyched.
But perception is reality.
But
right?
perception is reality.
It is what you know what it is. So.
But yeah, going back to, you know, like you're making a living, but yet it's really rewarding because you're making people freaking smile.
That's what I mean. Like back to like I didn't have to sell drugs to do it, so that's pretty sick.
2010 is when you started doing this, or
The surf school stuff?
Yeah.
No, I'm doing surf school like right out of high school. So like 2006, 2007. I'm like, that's why it's like my 10,000 hours passed a long time ago. That's why like, so I guess where we're at is like so I'm kind of like, I fell into this space now. I'm like, okay, like surf coaching is my thing. The pearls, the dresses, Bali, that's kind of gone. I got to spend a lot of great times and whatever, but like right now I'm in this other thing. So then I'm kind of being open-minded, like, all right, like fuck it. So then I start like meeting new clients, and Kauai is starting to change a lot too. And you know, it's just like it's just different. And all of a sudden, like freaking, you know, price of living's getting really expensive. People from other places are moving over. It's just kind of like the story that's being told a million times, but it's like, it's getting difficult. So I'm kind of like, fuck, what am I gonna do? Whatever. Well, shit, like I end up doing what's the easiest is I just start working for these people. I'm like, shit, like they're here already. Like, you know, sometimes I see myself as like a part of the problem, but then I'm like, whatever, bro, I can't worry about what other people are thinking about. Plus, like these people are putting food on my table, and like, and like on Kauai, like, I mean, like a lot of people know is like, fuck, I back a lot of people like silently or unsilently. Like I help a lot of people and make things happen, you know, and I've always done my best, and that's why people kind of back me. And that's why like, even like with my brand, it's just been funny is like the people who have always tried to like kind of piss on my parade or whatever, I'm like,
just jealous.
Yeah, or just like, who are they? Like, you know what I mean? Like freaking my friends, like they're gnarly guys. They're fired up. They're
like, hey, how can I get? They're asking you,
or just like, how can we help? Or like, you know, and it's just like, whoa, shit, okay. So then you start. I realized too, like with businesses, like you really start to realize who are your real friends. You know, people who are really like just care for you and want you to like kind of do your trip or whatever. So I basically, you know, I feel like this story's going long, but it's like, I basically break up with that chick and I start making some calls, and all of a sudden I'm like, fuck, I guess I'm going to New York. I end up in Montauk, like Mikey O'Shaughnessy, Mikey Red, like we're in Tahiti together, and he's like, bro, I'm going to New York to do surf lessons. Like, bro, that's where the money's at. And I was like, okay. So then I call Reef, and I'm all, fuck, I'm thinking of going to New York. And he's like, oh, call this guy Charlie, you know Charlie, he'll hook you up. And somehow Charlie's dad, this guy Chuck, he's like the unofficial mayor of Montauk, and Montauk's like East Hampton, you know, so all of a sudden I'm like, okay, this is like a different world. So then I fly up there, and I'm only supposed to be there for like 3 weeks. I end up staying for like 3 months. I'm just like, fuck, I'm doing surf lessons out in Montauk and freaking making friends with, you know, all those boys, like the Whalebone crew, and just like freaking kind of like, whoa, shit, like New Yorkers are like, they're like Hawaiians stuck on the other side of the world. Like they're just super like, when I first got up there,
Gritty.
Yeah, just like I feel like California, sometimes people are like, oh, where are you from? And you're like, oh, Hawaii. And they're like, oh, right on, cool. Like there's Johnny Good vibes. Everything's all killer. In New York, you're like, oh, where are you from? And you're like, oh, Hawaii. They're like, oh, well, fuck you. And you're just like, whoa, okay. Like, it's kind of like you have to earn their, you know. And I really like. I have friends over there that I consider like brothers. They're like great people, you know. So I ended up doing like Hawaii winters, and still traveling to Tahiti, whatever, and then I would spend the falls in Montauk for 5 years. And I was just like, fuck it, this is where we're gonna go, and I just figured same thing. It's like I started making connections and started working for, you know, I was working for, you know, a really famous, powerful dude, and he's all, listen, man, you ever heard of the Hamptons Classic? And I'm all, no, what's that? He's all, it's the most expensive horse show in the world. he's a
Horse show.
Yeah, horse show. And just people that go to horse shows, they can afford your lessons. And I'm like, all right. So like we go down there and
Go there to network.
Yeah, I'm just networking, meeting these finance dudes, and kind of like, all right, like, because it's like it's a little different. It's like surf school, it's a numbers game. You want to get as many people as you can. Surf coaching, you're just trying to get like, you're just trying to meet a few or maybe even one client that you really connect with, and kind of like, all right, man, like we're off to the races. Because the other thing too is like surfing at this time, it's like it's the new golf. You know what I mean?
And those type of people want private. They want exclusivity. They want like cater. They want you got the guy freaking that grew up down the street, a surf coach. I got the fucking boy from fucking Kauai.
This guy came all the way from Hawaii.
Yeah, this is
like they want
like
a
that
little
is,
Teva-
your cloud is like fucking,
Teva walks out with his
And
portfolio
you look
and
at this
shows
guy.
him at Chopu or fucking Moran goes, you want lessons from this guy?
No, and it sounds super dorky,
But-
it sounds
but
super ego.
it's marketing.
No, but
Your
I like,
life has been your marketing.
I like towed into some wave at Chopes and freaking, and I remember I was like working for this big record producer guy, and freaking he's like, we're like, you know, kind of partying, whatever, and he's like bragging to his friends or something. And he goes, oh yeah, like how big of waves have you surfed, you know?
Common number one question: how big
Yeah.
have you seen a shark?
Have you been to Nazaré? Have you ever seen a great white? And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, so I was like,
Surfing.
but I just remember going like, I was like, and he's like, I'm gonna Google you, and I was like, oh fuck, like, I ain't no Reef McIntosh. I'm not, you know, I'm not a famous pro surfer. So I'm thinking like, I wonder what pops up. Google's my name, just me on a 15-foot tow bomb. I'm like, that's right. Like I was like, it was just like a full like, and then that's when I started, you know, I kind of.
Fuck, I need to use this.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Then I was
Yeah.
like, that's why I was telling Newton, I was like, dude, you're a fucking backdoor champ. Fucking Google your name. You know what I mean? Like, there's clout here. Like, I know it sounds lame, but like it's not. Like, it's not like I'm making this up. Like, we did it, and it's there.
There's a
and,
saying, you know, use what your mama gave you or whatever it is, you know, like it's something like that where.
Or just use your strengths.
Yeah,
you know? It's not
like-
because it's not like I'm blind to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
you
it's
wanna-
like it's, and you don't want to like brag, but
You want to differentiate yourself with
Exactly.
the groups
Yeah.
and the competition, and be
so
like,
when I saw that, I just remember thinking like a light went off in my head. I was just like, okay, fucking, like, yeah, there's surf lessons, but then like there's what we do. You know what I mean? Like we offer something different, and then I knew friends all over the world, so I kind of was like, you know, like I had friends who were like, oh, like we're going to Europe, like what do you think? I'd be like, fuck, call my friend Nick Von Rupp. He can show you guys around and take you around Portugal and do this whole trip. They're like, what, killer? Like, and I'm like, oh, we're going to Bali. Like, what do you think? Like, oh, call my friend Ty Buddha. He'll freaking show you around, single fan, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, you want to go to Mexico? Like, call Brian Conley. It was just like, I was just like kind of pulling people out of my hat, just like, well, fuck, I've been there and those are my boys. They'd be stoked to make a little, you know, like, and I was just kind of like, just, networking and, you know, and then it kind of fell into a couple trips. All of a sudden, it's like, I did a trip where the initial trip was just to go to Iceland, and then I remember we got there and we got fun waves and it was freezing cold and it was a sick experience. And all of a sudden I was like, I just kind of told you, I was like, saw him like paying for the black card with everything, and I was just like, you want a real experience, bro? Let's call Jerome and go to Morocco. All of a sudden we're freaking scoring Safi. Then we're like, okay, let's call Nick and go to Nazaré and go check that out. It's like as a surfer, and I'm not just saying this like I have these kids, like every surfer has these connections. Like if you've been around and traveled enough and did like even us, like we've never met, but like we have a lot of weird interweb things, or you know what I mean? So it's like that's what I was just kind of trying to tell my friends. I'm like, you have more context than you think. It's just you've never been forced to have to use them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
So then I was like, so then I'm like, okay, the teeth is our thing, and that's what we're doing, and freaking, you know, get a little website going, and but at this point, it's more just like I'm trying to brand us, like you know, the name is mine, obviously, I'm the nickname, whatever, but like you didn't even know that was why I named it when I came in here, right? Like, so people don't really identify Blak Bear as me, they just kind of, that's the name of the brand, and then the teeth and all of that, it's like I just wanted it to like kind of embody what we're trying to do. Does that make, I don't know. So,
Yeah.
So anyways, it's like fast forward is that like, you know, I had a friend who did really well in the contest and he had the hat on, and Brophy and those guys called him out. They're like, dude, you ride for Ruka. I don't know what this teeth is, but you got to get it off. Like, you can't wear that. You know what I mean? And at first I was like, you know, of course you're like, bro, what? Like we're just trying to do our trip. And then I was like, okay, wait a minute. You tried to do this game before. You know exactly what's going on. So then what are we? You know? So I was like, we're wax. And we got wax made. And I was like, we're a wax brand. That's why the sticker's on the board, and that's why the hat, you know, whatever. And then wax went from like fuck, let's do pads. Boom. Like, you know, I was kind of like trying to use like almost like the Diamond Supply business model, right? It's like Diamond Supply Co. was the nuts and bolts, right? But then they have like the craziest skate team because Nick is like getting like the boys from Girl, and you know, and they're just like building a team, but like no one really knew that they were a clothing brand. They were like, no, we're a hard goods company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, well, surfing's the same thing, man. Like, these are all my friends and these are all the people that I want to surround myself, but I'm not a Hurley. I'm not
Can't
a
afford to.
Yeah,
You can't jump on what they're getting paid.
exactly. And I also don't want like I have too much respect for the people who have built those brands. So I'm not trying to oh, fuck them. Like, we're coming in. Like, you know, I'm kind of more like, okay, let's do this.
How do you create?
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not trying to like make waves in a negative way. I'm just kind of like, is there space for us to squeeze in here?
Yeah.
Like, you know.
You're diversifying your portfolio, bro.
I'm all, dude, we're selling dresses and pearls. Now we're doing this. Like, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to get back to Pasquale so I can do some step-offs. Like, I'm not trying to, you know. So anyways, and
wax, leash, tail pads.
So we're doing wax and tail pads, and then we're, you know, and then we're starting to do some little clothes, and then kind of got the soft boards going, and then freaking COVID hit, and freaking, it was just, you know how it was, is like the whole world shut down. And it was just like, shit, like, whoa. So I was trying to go legit at the time, and I was like, yeah, I want to do a real surf school. So the 6 months prior to COVID, I was like leasing a permit. The town that I live in, you need a permit to do surf lessons. I'm sure it's like that
Everywhere.
I pretty much was running no permit for years, and one of the surf schools actually like came down and put me in jail. I was like spent a day in jail, kind of like, whoa, like, you know, paid a big, like, you know, whatever it was, like $800 fine, and kind of got arrested in front of everybody. I just felt kind of dumb. I was just like, because especially when you go and the judge is like, what are you in here for? And you're like, surf lessons? Like, you just, nothing hard about that.
Like, dude, all you had to do is go get signed a freaking paper and pay a little fee.
Well, no, like,
Yeah.
Hawaii, there's a set number. There's no applying for new ones. So it was
Yeah,
kind of like I did it out of necessity. I was like, hey man, like, people want to go, and I don't have a permit. You know, it was like a weird. You know, obviously from now I kind of worked weird loopholes or worked with schools or whatever. But at the time, I was just doing it out of necessity. I had to make money, and you know. So, anyways, I was leasing a permit, and I was doing the school. And then COVID's coming, and like, I've already invested in Google ads and boards, and like, you know, I'm kind of like, okay, we're gonna be, you know, finally got a little money, you know, like $4,000 in my name or something, which is a lot of money for me. I was kind of like, okay, let's build this school, and we're doing good. And then COVID hits, bro, and Kauai was gnarlier than anywhere else, because there was like, when it happened, it was a full lockdown. People couldn't leave their houses between. I think it was 9 at night to 6 in the morning. You know, it was like full lockdown. You weren't allowed out of your house, and then during the day, you weren't allowed to go to the beach unless you were just going for a swim. You weren't allowed to hang out and lay out on the beaches, and then for tourists to come into the island, it was a 10-day quarantine. So if you flew in, you had to like stay somewhere, and you know, whatever. You guys know, like, most people are listening, they know what the whole deal is. So this is all going on, and then I run into this. Like, you know, we all know them, kind of surfing cowboys, I call them. They're like modern day pirates. And I run into this guy that I know, and he's like, hey, what's up? He's like, what are you doing these days? And he's like, you're not doing nothing. There's no tourists visiting Hawaii. He's like, you got no job, you know? And it was kind of like a weird, like, I was like, no, man, I'm kind of tripping. I don't have, you know, I have no money. I had no money at this point. Like, you gotta remember, all that businesses that we talked about, I didn't pay taxes. I didn't have anything on paper. Like, I'm kind of a piece of shit in that way. Excuse my language, but it's like, freaking. So when everyone's getting the money every month, bro, I'm getting nothing. I don't qualify for nothing. So I'm just like,
you're off the books.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like, and like, some friends are like joking. They're like, that's what you get for all the fun you've been having. Like, you know, like, it's time, you know, and like, hey. Now, as I would consider myself an adult, now that I'm in my back half of my 30s, I'm like, yeah, like, I was kind of running it hard. I didn't really know any other way, but I was just like, whatever. My whole head was at that time was like, I just want to get to the next surf trip. I was living surf trip to surf trip, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, everything, whatever. So anyways, this guy was like, fuck, when you come to Alaska and come fish for salmon, and freaking, it was like, I was like, shit, you know, whatever. And, you know, these guys
crazy
signed up freaking. I was like, and you gotta remember, it's like, I'm a guy that's been traveling nonstop. Like, I wasn't on the QS or something, but I'm living out of a board bag. Like, I'm like freaking. So all of a sudden, yeah. So like, adventure's gone. I'm like, this guy's like Alaska, you think you're freaking, you think you're made of something? When you come up to Alaska, I'm thinking like, fuck yeah, I'm made of something. You know, I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to go. So,
So you're calling me
I'm
out.
a man.
You're wrong.
exactly.
Look at my hands, fucker.
Exactly.
I can rip fish out of the fucking.
I've been on a yacht in Mentawais.
Exactly.
A freaking cruise. No, you're talking about fucking.
A 30-foot boat with a 5-gallon bucket in the back to shit in, and that's it. You're freaking on the water. We're on the water for like 6 weeks, you know? So I freaking leave, and I go up there, and you gotta remember, is like Black Lives Matters parades or riots are in the streets, the George Floyd, we like land in Seattle, I remember, to like, in between flights, and there's like riots in Seattle going down, and like freaking, just everything was kind of nuts, I'm just like, holy shit. And then you get to Alaska, where we are, you're in Naknek, there's no, they have their own service, so like AT&T doesn't work, so my phone, for 6 weeks, I didn't even have a phone. So no contact with the outside world.
This guy says, hey, you're not going to make any money here, you're going to, whatever, you should come with me and fucking work on this fishing boat.
Yes.
And you'll make how much money? 20 grand, 30
Yes,
grand?
and you gotta remember, it's like, I don't have any money, but I got this brand, and I'm really feeling hype. I'm really feeling myself. I'm like, fuck, I feel like this thing could really blow up if I could just get someone
you do this for how long?
I'm thinking I'm gonna jump on this boat,
seed money
I'm gonna make some money, and then I'm gonna go, I thank God I had like a fairy godmother, this woman Janet, that's just like kind of like always had a couch to sleep on, and I used to coach her son, who's my godson, and kind of like me and Hanalei were kind of like her Hanalei sons. Like Hanalei is like your adopted sons in Hawaii. So like, she kind of like took care of me and him. So I'm thinking like, fuck, I'll just go on this boat, and then I'll go to Malibu, and I'll post up, and I'll start building my brand. I'll have this money, and like,
who lived in Malibu? Her?
Yeah, she lived in Malibu, and then the people I work for lived in Malibu too. So I'm just thinking like, okay, Hawaii shut down and surf lessons don't exist, but California, at some point, the shit's got to turn back on, and I'll tap back into that. But for right now, I'm kind of on this fishing adventure. You know?
It's hard work.
So like, for people who don't know, it's like, so crabbing is considered the deadliest job in the world, right? Deadliest catch is the deadliest job. Salmon, they call it the hardest job on the planet. So it's like, once the fish start running, it's nonstop sleep. You don't sleep, you know what I mean? Because if you're sleeping, then you're losing money. You want to be catching the fish as they run. And like I've been to Africa and seen like the Great Migration in the Serengeti or whatever. And it's like something happens where like, same with the wildebeest, they just all of a sudden decide that, we're going to run north to the Masai Mara. Like the salmon are out there, and they just kind of like,
it's like clockwork.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like they make it. We're
netting?
We're gill netting, yeah. We're laying down like 250 fathoms of net and freaking, catch the story is the guys I'm fishing for, they're cheating. They're on the freaking, devil's dandruff, it's like freaking, these guys aren't sleeping, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh fuck, this is a different world, I didn't, I party and stuff, but I don't do that, I'm not that guy.
But they got like you get a quota and you got to fill it, and then
exactly. So like freaking, everyone's got their way to stay up, but you better stay up basically. So I freaking all of a sudden I'm out here with these guys and I'm fishing, and the captain like, he's freaking crazy, and he's bigger than me, and he's just got these fucking big old hands, and he's just calling me the N-word all day, and I'm just tripping. I'm like, whoa, bro, how did I end up on this boat with these guys that I've never even seen lay vertical yet? Like, this is nuts. You know what I mean? Like, it's nuts. It's just it was a crazy trip, and I don't want to like waste the podcast talking about it.
No, but it's interesting.
Crazy.
A lot of people that fish
was like shows.
Yeah, you go up there, and like there's like hungry college kids that are doing the job, or like there's old salty dogs who do whatever, and then there's basically like a very small or maybe bigger percentage than you think of just like kind of drug addicts that are freaking up there to make a shit ton of money so they can go back to like
party.
Yeah. Exactly. For them, they're making like, they could make $250,000 in this like 6 to 8 week stretch, and then freaking they're back. So it's like, it's kind of like Boy Scouts on fucking meth is basically what it is. It's gnarly. It's and it's not just like, it's part of the culture, you know what I mean? It wasn't just like the boat I was on or something like that. So
yeah, it's definitely the culture.
We've heard some stuff like that,
So I end up just like fishing for this guy, and we just have this crazy story, like 3 guys quit before we even leave. some freaking tweaker chick like fucking tries to pull a gun on me, and I'm just like, this is fucking, I'm all over. This is Alaska. This is fucking
Wild West.
deadliest catch
frontier.
reaches fucking Breaking Bad. I'm all, whoa, bro, this is nuts. And then
It is Breaking Bad.
it's nuts. So anyways, we end up freaking we kind of like start catching. You gotta remember, as COVID's going on, like the fish is only worth what restaurants will pay. Well, if restaurants aren't open, no one's paying for the fish. So basically, halfway through the season, a guy kind of tells me, he goes, "Hey man, like the price of the fish is usually $1.50. It's dropped to 30 cents." So I kind of just have this like, out, bro, this is gnarly, you know.
How long did you?
We're there for 6 weeks. Yeah, so we freaking the run had just I'd done like 3 weeks in the harbor and then kind of got on the boat and whatever. Long story short, bro, we the best part of the whole thing is that me and this guy are kind of fishing for the fish on the back of the boat, bro, and it's the guy like basically the captains design it so that you get 10% of the catch, but if a guy quits, then you can split that guy's catch. Does that make sense? Like his 10% now gets split amongst you. So we leave the harbor with 5 guys. Now there's only 5 crew and a cap. 3 guys bail first 2 weeks. They're like, we can't handle this. This is gnarly. So now it's just me and this other guy. And freaking, I'm sleeping one night and sleeping one day, like kind of taking a cat nap, and I hear them kind of talking. They're like, oh, like what do you think? Like freaking, like. And he's like, oh, the kid's gnarly. He's really good. Talking about me, like, oh, he's strong, whatever. Well, fuck, I think we work him, and then we, like basically
Throw you off?
No, not throw me out, but just like let's get him to quit. Like if we've caught enough fish, let's freaking So then the next day I'm up on the deck, kind of pretend that I didn't hear them, and then he's giving me the same talk about the guy. So I'm like, oh, this guy's hitting us against each other. Does that make sense? Like he comes down, kind of like, hey Jay, like you're the man.
Yeah.
I really feel like you're doing it.
This guy's talking shit.
No, we're down on Chalky. Right? Guy can't even cook. He's down. Chalky, fucking Jay.
Yeah.
Guy just takes naps, whatever. Just like kind of trying to do that. Anyways, we freaking go out for this set and freaking, it's nuts. You have like 500 boats, bottlenecked in this tiny little trip, and you're all kind of playing bumper cars trying to lay your net, because the salmon are coming into the river, right? It's coming from the ocean, but they're bottlenecking up into the Naknek River. So then the top of this river is where you see like the National Geographic like bears hitting the salmon out of the waterfall. Like that's happening a couple miles up. But like where we are, we're and that's like a surfline report. It's like you're listening to this thing, and then it's like escapement hits 1 million, which means like the enough salmon have made it up to spawn. So then they're like game will be open from, and then it'll like say the hours from 6 a.m. until 2 or 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. the next day, right? So it's like, okay, there's like there's like 18-hour freaking window, and then you gotta like look at the charts and go, okay, there's a high tide and a low tide, and okay, so like when the tide ebbs, that's when the fish are gonna run. Like it's just all like kind of like surfing almost. You're kind of like, okay, fuck, when the tide hits. Exactly. So like captain was super nuts, and he's on that. So anyways, we get into this flow, and we lay the net down, bro, and we end up catching like 20,000 pounds in the net, and like that's pretty much gonna sink the boat if we pull it in, and like the ocean's nuts and rough, and freaking me and the guy that we're working with, he's just fucking screaming at me, like we're kind of battling, and we're pulling the fish out of the net, and it's like, bro, your hands are just like numb. You're on the Bering Sea, you know what I mean? Like it's freaking, it's nuts. You're just like, wow, how the fuck did I get here? You're in sweatpants, sweatshirt, Grundins, freaking, like I'm covered in fish blood. I haven't showered in freaking weeks, you know what I mean? Like you're just like, oh, this is pretty nuts, Yeah, so it's just like, and like all my friends know is like, I pretend I'm tough. I ain't a tough guy. Like I'm a big sweetheart teddy bear. Like I'm just tripping. I'm like, whoa, bro. Like freaking, I'm just like, you're pounding out, you're working, whatever.
You're on adrenaline high.
Yeah, you're on adrenaline, whatever. And I remember the craziest advice I got before we left is this rugby guy was like in the harbor, and we're kind of like freaking, doing some shit, whatever. The guy's like, I was like, fuck, you got any advice? And he's like, yeah. He's like, give up hope. He's on live in your existence. And I'm like, oh, what? And he's like, and it's such a crazy thing, because it's like, in your life, when you're a little kid, you go to school, and then you're kind of like, oh, I can't wait for breakfast or something. Then you're like, oh, like I hope recess comes soon. Oh, I hope lunch comes. And you kind of know things are coming because there's kind of a schedule to your life, right? Like it sounds crazy, but that's it's organized a little bit. All of us have been on oh, I hope this summer comes, and then I get to go on this trip, or hope, right? You go to Alaska, sun never sets. So there's no fucking morning time. There's no night time. There's no freaking, you know what I mean? There's no 9 to 5. This is a 24-hour fucking grind. It's like you're in the Truman Show. You watch the sun, and it's just about to hit the horizon, and they just run sideways for a little bit, and then just goes right back up, bro.
That's so
bro, it's a
amazing.
mind fuck, you know? Like,
how
that guy's statement.
oh, yeah, no.
Give up hope.
No, so
live in your existence.
Existence. You know what he meant was he's always all, don't hope that that this is the last set. Don't hope that your hands are going to get warm. He's like, just live in that existence and just be happy that you're alive. And like, I swear, like, and it sounds super crazy, but I know because you guys have kids, it's like, it's kind of how it is with a kid. Like, if you wake up and you hope that they're going to like my daughter, and I was like, I catch myself like, oh, I hope she takes a nap today. Like, well, there you go. Now you've placed some false fucking, you know,
sense of security.
Like this is coming. Like instead, like you wake up and you're like, oh, you're covered in shit. That's cool. Like we're covered in shit. And then you just kind of, you know, like what it meant more was he was like, whatever's happening in that moment, just live in that moment. Yeah. And I swear,
there's nothing you can do about it.
Don't think about a warm bed, hot shower,
all
good
that's
meal.
gonna do is play mind games.
You're gonna be fucked.
harder. Yeah.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
That's so poignant, like, and perfect to hear. Because it crushes your dream.
That's what it is. It's gonna break you down.
It's gonna break you down.
You thought you were like, you know, you're broken. You're a broken.
Yeah.
Now you're ready to go fish for salmon. Like you have given up any. Plus, it's like
you did that for 6 weeks.
Yeah. So we're out there, and you know, whatever. It can get really gnarly and really freaking. It's not the story I want to tell, but basically at the end is that we got this crazy set. And we're fishing the fuck out of it. And I actually remember we watched this boat kind of ram into another boat, and the guy's got a gun, and he shot the other gun and with a hole in the boat, and you're just like, this is the wild way. Like it was like, I'll never forget. It was more crazy too. I remember I had met these kids from Hawaii, like full like little thug, mama coolie, like Hawaiian kind of. They're like, oh, what's up, bro? Fucking, oh, you're doing fishing? Yeah. Like, bro, you know, you gotta get out there, and kind of just like give me like a pump up talk. And I actually remember we're out there and we're all laying the nets down. And basically what happened is like it's like dropping in. Like you'll drop in on the set of the day and you're about to catch like all the fish, and Jay just comes and drives his net right in front of you. They call it corking. And basically like you just blocked me from making 20 grand or 50 grand or whatever. So it's like it's kind of like well, guys' livelihoods are on the line. You know, and I actually remember I look over.
They ain't playing fair.
I just remember, like, you gotta remember, it's like, we haven't slept. We're all beaten down. Like, our hands are cold. You're kind of going through them. You know, it's nuts. It's a nuts deal. And I remember.
You could die at any fucking moment.
Oh, or like,
fall off the boat.
At one point, my fucking foot went in the net and it was getting pulled up into the horns, which is like the guider for the nets. I almost snapped my leg off. I'm just like, holy shit. And then the captain's like, dude, we're getting the season before, some guy had lost his arm. So it's like, you know what I mean? Shit's on high alert. Like, do not freaking rest. Do not freaking
Did you know this guy?
Yeah, I kind of did because one of my friends from high school, when he heard that I was gonna go fish for the guy, he's like, "You ready to fucking mine, bro?" Yeah. And he's like a gnarly, boar hunting, crazy, tough Hanalei, and he's just like, "Bro, you're not made for that shit, bro. It's nuts." You know what I mean?
No one is.
Yeah, you gotta remember, it's like I'm all. That's a big Hanalei. I'll fucking go fishing for salmon. You know, and just like your ego sometimes can lead you to some really sick stuff, and then sometimes it can lead you like down some lessons you don't really need to learn. You know. Yeah. So, anyways, we figured do the set, and I'll never forget it. I just remember like we had all kind of been on our wits' end. You know, we hadn't slept. Freaking, it's just crazy, and we're setting this line. And I remember I was hearing this freaking crazy chee-hoo, like a full Hawaiian chee-hoo, and I look over and I see the Hawaiian kid, he's like shirt off, covered in fish blood, like screaming at the sky because he's like clearing fish on his boat. You gotta remember, all of our decks, they're super close, but the deck of our boats look like Chuck E. Cheese with the balls, but it's not balls, it's salmon. You're like waist deep, buried in salmon. Like it's freaking, so he's just like, you're just like the primal human, I was just in, like this guy's just, I just remember looking at him and being like, oh, we've lost our fucking minds, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is
fucking epic.
Because I just remember the guy, when I was like out there, I remember a captain had come over and he's like, bro, I bet you're tripping on, like, freaking, this is nuts. It's nuts. Like, don't get wrong. But he's like, I tell you one thing, when the salmon run and that thing happens, he's like, it's like Planet Earth, National Geographic. Like, it's the craziest shit you'll ever see in your life. And like, it's kind of why I went. It's like, I'm an experienced guy. Like, I'm like, fuck, I want to go. You know what I mean?
This isn't a career path. You just want to check it out, make some money, come start your brand.
I'm not trying to fish. I just want to get a couple money and get some t-shirts. Let's get back to the.
You got to think like, those that weather the storm buy their boats and they fucking, or that's their career. Everybody else is just fucking rotating every summer.
Exactly. Like I'm the summer help at this point. You know
well, it's gnarly because the world shut down. There's nothing else you could do.
You're
not selling dresses.
Exactly. And I didn't
pearls.
have any other option. And I just remember what was really funny is that I remember I was in Anchorage and we were like at a Home Depot, like getting all the gear to go to fish. And I remember my buddy Anthony Petruso, he does lessons.
Fuck, I know Anthony, yeah.
So Anthony, he's all, hey, like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm in Anchorage going fishing. He's all, what? He's all, fuck, I was just going to tell you, like, freaking need some help doing lessons or whatever. And I just remember, like, there's no lessons, like, whatever. And Fuller had called me right before or right after and was like, hey, you got any recommendations? Like, people that you know in LA that might want lessons, So I just remember thinking like that probably should have been the sign, like, but don't get on this boat. Just go to LA and do, but like.
So it's right before you went.
Yeah, I'd already kind of committed and so anyways.
So you hooked Fuller up and.
Yes, I go, here, man, call these couple numbers and freaking see what happens. Yeah, but I'm like, LA's closed and like no one's surfing because no one's surfing. Yeah. You guys remember and people know, like whatever. So anyways, I end up on this freaking deal and we're clearing this set, bro, and we're just buried in fish, and everything just kind of hits me, bro, and we're just like clearing the net, and you're basically ripping fish out of the net, but you have to like finesse it, so you can't wear gloves or else you'll tear your nets, and if you tear your nets, then you gotta stay up all night sewing them.
You have to
together.
take them out
barehanded, and you gotta flick them right out, just bam, 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 and freaking, so your fingers, they actually swell up, they look like hot dogs, because your hands are so cold, and then they're working so hard, and they're like shredded from the net and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're freaking, you can wear gloves, but our captain was old school and he was like, no gloves, that rips the net. And then I got to stay up weaving it all night. So it was just like, whatever. So we're like, I just remember clearing the net and this guy that I was working with, he just we kind of realized like I was all of a sudden faster than him at doing the net. And he realized like, you're the weak link, we're taking your percentage. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
As we said, the conversation before was he was trying to like feel out who's going to be the stronger horse in this race, and basically it was like, and then he just lost it. Like the net's coming in off of an electric drum, so fish are hitting the deck and freaking shit's on. You cannot pause, And he just stops, and I'm still clearing the fish, and I'm just staring him in the eyes like, that's right, motherfucker. Like I did not leave Kauai and give up everything to come up here and have some fucking tweaker. Yeah. So right there, he's like. He starts screaming at me. He's like, Jesus hates the N-word, Like, I'm not black, but like, I'm not, you know what I mean?
But you understand.
But I'm also like, I had enough. And like, you know what I mean? Like that word is just not, it's not cool, you know what I mean? Like the world I live in, I don't want to hear, you know what I mean? It's just whatever. So like, when they would say it constantly up there, and it just probably just like, everything inside of me was just like, fuck that. And I just looked at him, I was like, you know what? You know what I do in my fucking life? I pull into big barrels and I freaking travel the world and I hang out with chicks and I do cool shit and like
this is your life.
Scrubs with like you and then and then he's just like, what? And he jumps on me, bro. I mean, it's just like rolling and I was bigger than the guy, so I kind of get the better of him and he's underneath the salmon and I'm just cranking this dude. Well, the captain he's as big as me, if not bigger, and his hands are fucking huge, and he's tough as fuck, right? So he jumps on me, and we're like, all of a sudden we're just all rolling in the salmon.
What the fuck?
And I just had enough. I just didn't even care. I was just like, fuck. And we're all kind of wrapped up in the net and shit, and then all of a sudden the boat's about to sink because like Alaska, you're on these like they're not fjords, but they're basically like. You're coming into a riverbed, so it's like,
and there's water moving.
Yeah, like we're 8 miles from shore, but the sandbar is only like 20 feet deep or something, or 30 feet deep. So the tide's going out super quick. So now we're gonna end up on a sandbank, and then you can get stuck for a day or two until the tide comes back in, right? So we can see the bank and the net and the fish, and this guy's fucking losing it, and he's just he's saying all kinds of obscenities and whatever, and I'm like, fuck you. We throw him in the freaking cab and we get him in the cab and we close it up and the captain's like, dude, we gotta just clear this fish and just get the fuck out of here. This is crazy. Like, we've lost our minds. Like pretty much like it was a full like Lord of Flies kind of moment. It's like, holy shit, like what are we doing out here, And freaking right there.
How many times did you guys do that?
That happens every day you're clearing fish. So you're working like 14, 16-hour days and then you're,
For 6 weeks you did that?
Yeah. 3 weeks is when the fish.
How much money did you make?
We'll get to that, bro. So we freaking,
Are you thirsty?
so we
So 6 weeks of that gnarliness.
Yeah, so we finished. We basically are clearing the set, throw the guy in the freaking galley, and freaking we end up like we're clearing the deck, and then all of a sudden he comes out and he's butt fucking naked, and he jumps into the pile of salmon, and me and the captain look at each other like we have lost our fucking minds, bro. This guy's just like we're in Grandins, we look like deadliest catch workers. We're like full, and all of a sudden this dude's like butt naked, and we're out about our boat's about to sink, and he's like screaming at us, and we're just like, fuck, so we have to like grab this guy, get him back in the galley or whatever. We do that. We clear all the fish. We get our nets, an hour of work, whatever, and then I'm just kind of like thinking in my head like, fuck, the next time we unload the boat, I'm jumping off this boat. This is it. Like I've had enough. Like I don't care the amount of money, the amount like my sanity and my dignity and just everything that I fucking stand for is like.
How many more weeks or days are left in the season?
There's probably like not that long. Maybe like we're halfway through the run. The actual run's only like a 10 to 14 day stretch, so we could have 7 more days left. And like 7 days to me seemed like eternity. I'm just like, and like I said, the guy at the crab boat had told me, he's like, well, we don't know what the price of the fish is. It could be only 30 cents. So you guys could be, my 20 grand that I thought or 30 grand I was gonna make could be only like 3 or whatever, Like, so I'm just like, okay. Anyways, we go to start the boat. We're like, okay, we're done. Like freaking, the guy's like trying to go nuts. We're like, it's all good, man. We're gonna get out of here. We go to start the boat. The boat won't start. And freaking captain's like, what the hell? And like, there's like a hydraulic hose that you use to rinse down the boat. It won't turn on. And I'm just like, what the freaking then. We look and somehow the engine cabin had been like, there was like light coming through, like the deck had been opened. This fucking guy, when we were outside clearing the deck with all the fish, he jumped down there and he cut all our hoses so that he was trying to sink the boat. And freaking,
He just went nuts.
he went nuts. Yeah, you have these they're Vickies, like little Victoria like fishing knives. He went down there and they cut like sushi. He went down there and just cut through all the hoses. And fucking the captain goes down there, he's like, what the fuck, our boat's gonna sink. And that's when I just hit the wall. I was like, but we're done. So we had to we basically had to hog tie this guy up, and freaking captain kind of did what he had to do to get the boat in, and then we had to we motored in 6 hours and got to the freaking harbor, and Coast Guard had to come pull this guy off our boat, and it was just a full scene,
Wow.
Yeah, I just never forget, bro. The captain looks at me and he's like, don't even worry about it, bro. We'll get back out there and we'll get the fish. And I just think nah, bro, I'm done. Like, you know what I mean?
He was just trying to rub it off, like, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. That was, so just like, I guess
he needs somebody.
The moral of the story was what that rugby guy said. Is just like, fucking live in your existence, give up hope. Sometimes in your life, you gotta just live in the moment, whatever that moment is, I guess.
So are you telling me you didn't get paid?
So when you walk off the boat, you only get 4% of your 10%. So when I left, I thought I was gonna make 20, and I ended up making like 2,500, and it took the guy 3 months to pay it to me. So I basically left there and was like, wow. Yes, I got into the harbor at Naknek in freaking King Salmon, and I got off the boat. And you gotta remember, I haven't showered. I'm covered in blood, fish blood. I'm just like we're laying in these little coffin freaking deck beds. You know what I mean? All I would dream about after working all day is you'd be like, you're only getting 2 or 3 hour naps tops, maybe. If that in between sets,
Were you getting seasick at all? Or
no, you're just running on hope at this point. You're just like, fuck. And I just remember all I would dream about is just getting a baby wipe and just wiping my face and then wiping my nuts. I would just dream of that. I work all fucking day and be like, oh, bro, I can't wait. That baby wipe felt like Ritz-Carlton. I'm just like, fuck, this is amazing.
That is your shower.
Yeah, just like, oh. So anyways, remember I climb off the boat, bro. I'm I got fish scales in my hair. I'm
What was the captain saying? Dude, you can't leave.
Oh, he's just like, what are you gonna do? Go to Malibu and fucking, drive around a Tesla, just saying all kinds of crazy shit. I'm all, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go sauna and ice, bro. I'm out of here. I'm freaking, you know what I mean? Maybe COVID's ended and shit's back on, whatever. And anyways, the ending of the story is I ended up leaving. I walked 3 miles up the road. I had to sleep in these. I had to climb up in this kind of like cement bunker thing because there's bears and there's wolves and freaking the airport's like far away and like you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. People don't realize like there's a harbor, but there's no people live there. There's no houses. You know what I mean? It's like it's just a harbor and it's an industrial area and that's it. You know, you sleep on your boat. If you don't have a boat to sleep in, then you go to the airport. Well, I was in this weird time where I kind of left my boat, so I didn't have a boat to sleep on, and the airport was too far that night, so I slept in this bunker, and it's like freaking, 35, 40 degrees at night or whatever the fuck it was. It's freezing. I have like every hoodie. I have like 3 hoodies and pants, and I just remember laying there kind of thinking like, bro, when I get back to civilization, like there's no more excuses. We're not like, anytime someone asks for a lesson, we're not gonna cry about the whitewash pile. We're fucking getting ball rash and whatever we gotta do to freaking do
everything's
lessons.
easy.
Just like,
thing that you could possibly
I was like, and I forget, I should remember, I freaking get on the plane and I'm like, I freaking get to LAX and I get to Malibu to my friend's house and I remember I roll up there and I'm just like I'm disgusting. My clothes just need to be burned.
Did you go to Anthony Petruso's or that?
No, I went to this lady's house in
Yeah.
Malibu, Little Doom, and she was like, holy shit. And I just kind of freaking for like, it wasn't like I came, like everyone was working. Everyone had already like kind of like the world had kind of opened back up a little bit. And, and then I kind of had to I had to start over, you know what I mean? Like I didn't have any clients because people were already kind of like, where was Teva? Oh, he was in Alaska, right on, buddy. And Anthony and Anthony's like, dude, everyone's kind of got someone. So it just I was like, okay. So I got really lucky and I kind of met some people and started working. And then I kind of I knew my chick already, but my girlfriend now, but I kind of got together with her and then I kind of realized you know what, Kauai's changed. You're not going back there. You know what I mean? During COVID, so many new people had moved over and kind of changed the dynamic of where we lived a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I mean? It changed really much. And a lot of the thing too is a lot of these people came to Kauai and they didn't really need to integrate into the community the way that my mom did when she moved there. Like you freaking moved there.
They're really isolated because they're just
they could just shop at Costco and they worked online and all their buddies had moved from somewhere else too. So we'd go down to the beach and they all knew each other. We didn't know them, but they all knew each other, and it kind of I don't know. It was almost weird. It's almost you became a visitor in your own hometown,
Right.
And I know all my people. It is what it is. So I kind of just felt like, frick, I'm a displaced Polynesian kind of. I'm freaking, you know what I mean? I'm gonna do this thing. So now I'm my girlfriend is I'm really fortunate. She's from Paris, but she's French, but lives here.
Look at you, we got a thing for Frenchy ladies.
Yeah, and she's gorgeous and super cool, and she's already got 2 kids, and now we have a beautiful daughter together, Rai, and we're kind of doing life. And like I was saying before we got on, it's if someone took my life and put it on a piece of paper and was like, hey, you're gonna live in Hollywood, and you're not really gonna surf, and you're gonna freaking have a chick that already has kids and you're gonna have a kid and you're not gonna travel the world anymore, you're kind of just gonna work and have this brand and try really hard, I would have been I got your fucking mind, bro. I got a moped in Bali waiting for me, you know what I mean? But now I realize I am in the happiest time of my life. And so just wrap it up is I guess is
everything culminated.
I feel like right now with my brand, and this is kind of what I meant by this, is that they say 9 out of 10 businesses freaking survive, right? Well, this is my 10th one. I'm giving it all I got. So that's why I hate to get all weird, but that's what it is. It's I'm every mistake and every door that closed on me kind of got me to where I am right now. And that's why right now it's we're building a brand and we're doing it the right way and we're building it with friends and we got cool people and a cool product. And I don't know, I feel like me and you kind of talked a few months ago when Pat had put us together. It's the surf industry might be falling apart if people say that or whatever, or people have their feelings of how the surf industry is or whatever, but it's surfing's still just as cool as it ever was.
Yeah,
for
it'll
sure.
always be.
And it always will be the coolest shit ever. And how
people come and go, but the core
ingredient is still cooking hot and it's killer, and the best surfing is still happening out there, and how surfers get paid is very different. I mean, I just told you my whole story is I got to surf my whole life and I got to get really barreled and I got to be there for Killer Swells, and I did it without a sticker on the front of my board. And now I get to do it with my own sticker on my board, and I don't know. It's just kind of what I believe right now. It's I was just, like I said, when I first sat down, it's
well, it's the American dream, and it's your, it doesn't matter what industry you're in or what your passion is, the common denominator is
Hard work and
hard
passion.
work and following your passion and doing something that you're proud of, but you're also like involving people that are uplifting and you want to involve as well. You know, like it's like your little community in Hanalei. It's like you still have that mindset. It's just you're relocated somewhere else, and there's different people in that like mix.
For sure.
You know.
So right now, Blak Bear.
Yeah.
What you started it a while ago.
I started a while ago, but we're kind of just hitting our stride right now.
Yeah.
And we have like our little ground team, which I'm really proud of. And, you know, we got like my friend's daughter, Kaylia Galina, and she's surfing chopes and she's getting waves. And our kid, Zachy Taylor's the kid that's doing those wave pool airs. And I got Legend and Mananalu, Chandler, the two boys from Kauai that have been surfing pipe. And, you know, they're on the RUCA program or whatever. But, you know, the pads and the softboards is the product, and the apparel and stuff. Like, yeah, my hopes and dreams is to build that into something right now. But right now, it's like we're sticking to what we know, you know. And like my first employee, I guess you want to call it, is like I got Cheeseburger as our sales rep, and I know we're not following any of the rules, but like the conversations that we have just about like how we think this is gonna work out, it's hilarious. Like we're, you know what I mean? Like we're eating shit and we're enjoying it, and I don't even know. It's like when I sat down with Pat from RUCA, and he's like, you know, it's not so much about making the money. It's kind of like, what are your goals? And like, what do you see this thing turning into, and where do you want it to end up? And I realized is like in my life is I've always been about the experience. I've never been about how I land on my feet. And I feel like this brand has been an extension of that. So like, I think the Blak Bear Surf Club, it's more just a thing of like we call ourselves like a collective of edge riders, and like that's kind of what I think is like it's all people who kind of are just like we don't really know what's going on, or we don't really know where we're gonna end up. But right now, it's like I just want to keep my finger on the pulse, and if that's like surfing 40-foot jaws and trying to paddle into waves, and that's super sick. And you know, I've been able to do that and watch guys that ride for me like Billy Kemper with my own two eyes, be like, holy shit, this is crazy. And I've also got to like surf Tahiti, and like I just had a crazy trip where we took everyone down there and for that toe swell that Surfline kind of went live for, whatever. And it's just like all these experiences, like, I don't know, last time I checked, like surf brands are for surfers. So like, why not just have real surfers involved trying to do it? You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I know everyone's kind of like, the surf industry has turned into some corporate guys, but they also know how to run businesses. So that's why they're doing the businesses. Like right now, it's like, I'm just focused on like, trying to get in the mix, you know.
Yeah, there's room for, you know, up and coming. There's always room, you know, and like you said, staying authentic and on the pulse, and just, you know, like, I mean, people, you know, there's brands that come and go, and you know, sometimes it's money and partnerships, and you know, there's a million reasons why brands go, but there's one reason why brands stay, and it's staying authentic and staying core and genuine, and like. And uplifting and being a part of the community, whether it's doing events and stoking out groms, and you know. So
Burger is your rep.
Yeah,
Burger's like our unofficial like that's what we're doing. You know, what I mean?
I've seen Blak Bear at Surf Ride, right?
Yes.
And who's the other shops that?
So we do Surf Ride, Val Surf here in California. We do Becker up in Malibu, and then in Kauai we do all the shops there. We got Otto Flores that's doing Puerto Rico and doing like some WRV shit. And then I got Mike Gleason doing New Jersey, a couple shops. Like it's very small, but like it sounds cliche, but like the idea of the brand is I wanted it to be my friends, and then even doing business moving forward is I kind of wanted it to be people that like subscribe to the tribe that we're doing. You know what I mean? I know that like business is about doing numbers, but right now it's like I want to just start with it in like a meaningful, I don't know, just pick like shops that I would actually go and visit. Like, why don't we try to get in those shops first? You know what I mean? Like I kind of came with the idea like, okay, like we're gonna unload this container and we're just gonna start walking into shops and getting stuff. And me and Reef got like rudely awakened. We're like, oh, okay, so it's not like that. You don't just like roll in with a killer product and people are like, yeah, we'll put it on our shelf. It's like there's a formality to this business, and there's relationships that need to be formed, and there's people that you need to like kind of like.
But everybody starts doing that out of the freaking trunk, you know, and moving grassroots, driving out.
Exactly. That's why. So it's like for me, it's like I just told you my whole story. It's like I didn't spend my whole life sitting on the shoulder. I've always been a guy that's tried to take off behind the peak. So like with this brand is like
I know what you're talking about. This guy has no idea what you're talking about.
Don't alienate me.
But you know what I mean? It's like I said, it's like if I can inspire people to just keep doing what they're doing, and that's cool. And like with me, it's like that's what we're doing. Like we're trying to take off behind the peak. And I think in life, like if you're not doing that, then I don't know.
You're not living.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not about how you land. It's it's not about how you take off. It's how you land. So it's just give it a go. Like don't regret it. You know, like I do say that is like you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And that I think is what causes cancer when you're old. Is the regrets that you look back and go, "Fuck, man, should have went on that trip." Or should have. Yeah, it's like I don't know. And I do feel like I have some people in my life who they kind of got to squeeze the bag all the way, and they got pretty fulfilled. And now it's like you get to have a kid and you get to redo that whole trip again. So I don't know. Like even coming down here today, I was like, I was super pressured. I was like, I know that it's not like it's not Joe Rogan or something. But I was like, oh god,
whoa!
How dare you?
I mean, like I was like, it just sounded funny because like I went.
How dare you?
Yeah.
People were like, where are you going? And I was like, oh, I'm going to Late Night with Chalky. And guys were like, whoa, that's cool. And I was like, oh fuck, like what am I gonna talk about?
Yeah, we're kind of a big deal, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, I really appreciate you
but
guys.
we appreciate you, and man, I mean,
We gotta get his
based on your stories, like I mean, you've had one interesting
use sunscreen.
Is that shade?
Yeah,
Shade sunscreen,
Of course,
baby.
Bob.
Boom.
Shout out to Strider,
A little lotion.
our favorite surf instructor.
Strider. Hold on, we got new hats.
Yes.
No, I kind of feel though like just to like say it, it's just like
where's the hats?
is because I am in the idea of like I'm building the clothing and the business or whatever, but I've been building the brand my whole life, you know. And that's kind of I guess like sitting here and talking with you guys is like I know that I fully just freaking took you guys down a long path.
Yeah.
I guess that's what the brand is. The brand is how I got to get here, and I'm trying to build a platform for
Late Night with Chalky
All
hat,
right.
brother.
Yeah.
Sick. There we go.
And then
To my size.
we got bonsai bowl.
Whoa,
Yeah.
what is this, like a contest
Dude,
giveaway?
this
I feel
is
like I'm
it,
a ground
man.
in the contest.
Yeah, you can take the
I got the
koozie.
koozie.
That's from Left Coast Novelties. It hooks us up on our hats and koozies and
Okay.
Stickers for the G
computer.
Ride.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I'm gonna give you when we walk outside. We're sponsored by Bonsai Bowl.
Yep. You got
So-
some codes out there. They're located
Yeah.
here, down south.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks, Joe Bard and the Bonsai family.
But I gotta give a plug to
Neon
Neon
Wave.
Wave. This neonwave.com. This is neonwave.com. Is with the $50
Wow,
purchase.
Butchered.
$50 purchase.
The fact that these aren't pre-recorded is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I give you like, I was like, even when I did the introduction, I was like, whoa, not even pre-recorded.
Neon Wave's giving away a
This
late night with
is
Chalky hat.
neonwave.com.
Yeah. Spend $50, get a late night with Chalky hat if you type in our promo code at checkout.
And thank you to Shoot Spear.
Shoots! Yep.
I love it. I love it.
Shane Magnuson.
Cheers.
Chris
Always.
Slowly.
Yes,
They
thank you
just
guys.
opened up a new Shoots in Carlsbad.
Dang.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
growing. Ashton Hard Seltzer.
Yeah.
But
But we're gonna have-
Spirits.
Yeah. A lot of hookups.
Who else?
Caballero Pools and Spas.
Spas.
Yeah. You see the pool? Yeah.
Earth Pack. They make packaging.
See, we got
For all the
you know, we're just
business
milking
needs.
it. We're like sponsored at
Yeah.
12-year-olds.
Do you know how I know when you guys sell out is when you're into like athletic greens? And I'm like, oh man, the boys sold
Wait, do you
out.
wait,
They
wait, wait.
sold
Do
out.
you know who they are?
Can you hook us up?
Do they have a rep?
Dude.
Yeah, this has been amazing. We got to get you back on because I mean we could definitely dive into.
Well, I feel like the story will be better next time. So
Yeah.
We're gonna add on second chapter next time we get you on and talk about wave pools and maybe some big wave, surfing and stuff and
And being part of Northern LA Board Riders Club.
yeah.
We're working
Because
on
you've
that.
been there at least 8 years. I think you're going on 9 years.
Time.
I'm working on my Little Dune training and
Yeah.
Oh, dude. and I work for Rivia Projects. And as a token of our appreciation, they, off camera, we were talking about how you, gave us some props and told Hanalei Surf and Backdoor Surf to come check us out at Surf Expo. So, dude, you're
I
lazy.
love the gear. Like I said, I live in the shorts.
You know he's not
Stuff.
sample size, bro.
No, I got him the right stuff, dude.
Oh, amazing.
Dude.
Whoa, hooked up.
Dude.
It's like I'm sponsored.
Dude, you're super sponsored. I got you a couple trunks,
There you
some
go.
tees, some Rivia Project socks.
Amazing.
Bro.
Amazing.
Aren't you glad you came on the
I
podcast?
got hooked up. I appreciate it.
Dude.
Really good talking some
So
trash.
good.
Yeah.
So
Hope I
good.
didn't waste your time.
Not even, man. It's epic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right, peace out.
Peace.
Support Blak Bear.
BlackBearSurfClub.com.
Ew.
Click the link.